Lin Moyu suddenly felt an invisible force falling, and the whole person fell uncontrollably. Almost instinctively, the soul activated the secret method to fight against the invisible force and stabilized again. Lin Moyu focused his mind and continued to listen to the avenue and comprehend the secret method. The actions of Senior Xiahou were seen by the Daozuan. They naturally understood what Senior Xiahou did and were surprised. A Daozuan whispered, "He blocked it so easily." Being at the edge, the avenue he heard was very vague, but he was able to comprehend the secret method of soul ascension from it. How strong is this boy's comprehension? Not only did he comprehend it, but he was also the first to comprehend it. His potential is far beyond all the geniuses. Several Dao masters were amazed, but the Dao master of the ancient Lotus Holy Land said with a hint of disdain, "Maybe it's just good luck." At this time, Senior Xiahou said loudly, "Yuan wants some privileges, I wonder if it's possible." A moment later, a voice sounded, "What?" Xiahou Yuan nodded slightly and pointed again. Lin Moyu, who was originally at the lakeside, instantly came to the surface of the lake, and his position was at the back of everyone. He was only 2 meters above the lake surface, at the bottom of everyone. Xiahou Yuan was clearly giving Lin Moyu a chance to listen to the avenue together, which was the privilege he wanted. No one of the Dao masters present said anything against it. Xiahou Yuan 460 was above them in terms of identity, status, and realm, so they didn't dare to object. What's more, Xiahou Yuan had to ask when he wanted privileges, and it was obvious that the person who answered was more terrifying. These people probably knew a thing or two about how deep the water of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce was. Xiahou Yuan's methods were too clever. Lin Moyu didn't know he was being teleported, he just felt the sound of the avenue became clearer, several times clearer. For a moment, the speed of comprehension was greatly accelerated. The soul power was rolling, and the comprehension of the secret method of soul ascension was also rapidly deepening. The comprehension of the secret method requires continuous consumption of soul power, but what Moyu feared least was the consumption of soul power. As long as it was not consumed rapidly, with the world tree, his soul power would be inexhaustible. In this situation, he could comprehend until the end of time. But he knew that it would not be so simple, otherwise those geniuses would be able to persist for a long, long time. The difficulty should increase. In the 8th minute, almost every genius had stopped falling, and as their understanding of the secret method deepened, they not only stopped falling, but began to rise. Among them, the immortal Lotus Saint rose the fastest, followed by Lu Fengyao. In less than a minute, the two had risen several meters and almost returned to the original position. Others were also rising, but their rising speed was far less than theirs. Those geniuses who were originally ranked behind did not rise much. Lin Moyu, who was originally at the bottom, also began to rise gradually, and his rising momentum was strong. At the 8th minute, his height had surpassed several geniuses at the bottom. At the 9th minute, Lin Moyu was already more than 5 meters away from the lake. At this moment, he was in the middle among all the people, and had surpassed dozens of Tianjiao. At this moment, it was obvious who had a stronger understanding. At the 10th minute, a muffled thunder sounded in the avenue, and the pressure suddenly increased. All the Tianjiao who were rising stopped at the same time and began to descend again. The sound of the avenue became more intense, and the soul-raising secret method also rose to a higher level, becoming more powerful and more difficult to comprehend. The consumption of soul power was accelerating. If you want to comprehend the secret method, you need to consume more soul power. Lin Moyu maintained a calm state of mind. No matter how difficult it was, he would comprehend it. He felt that this secret method was very magical. If he could comprehend it, it would be of great benefit to him. This listening session was not only a training session, but also an opportunity. Plop! The sound of water was heard. At the 13th minute, a genius finally fell into the lake. Once you fall into the lake, it means you are eliminated. The waves in the lake pushed them to the edge of the lake. The genius who fell into the lake could not move and could not leave. At the same time, they could not speak. They could only soak in the lake and watch others comprehend the Tao. The winner flew in the air, and the loser fell into the water. One high and one low, giving people a very strong psychological gap. Sige. The Tao masters in the sky saw it, but they didn't feel much. These geniuses usually think they are the pride of heaven and are used to being arrogant. It's good to hit them. Most of them are smooth sailing, and they have to taste the taste of failure occasionally. If you can't get used to failure, how can you go further in the future? Your Tao heart also needs to be tempered. The Tao masters were high above, and they expressed their opinions like experienced people. Xiao Yuan said nothing, and most of his attention was on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu stopped falling when he was 2 meters away from the lake. He had a new understanding of the soul-raising secret method, so he stopped falling. It was only the 14th minute at this time, and even the Fairy Lotus Saint was still slowly falling at this moment, and had not yet gained a new understanding of the soul-raising secret method. At the 15th minute, the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao, one after the other, realized a stronger soul-raising secret method less than 5 seconds apart, and stopped falling. The Fairy Lotus Saint opened her eyes and quickly scanned, and found that she was still the first, so she breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, she saw that several people had fallen into the lake and were eliminated. Waste! The Saint of the Immortal Lotus looked a little disdainful, and closed her eyes again to continue to comprehend the secret method. It was far from enough to stop the downward trend. Then she had to strengthen the secret method and turn the decline into an upward trend. Lu Fengyao did not open her eyes this time. She only comprehended the secret method, regardless of other things. The Saint of the Immortal Lotus looked too hastily and did not notice Lin Moyu. When she stopped the upward trend, Lin Moyu had already turned from falling to rising, but the gap before was a bit large, so Lin Moyu did not surpass her. The Saint of the Immortal Lotus did not notice it, but the leaders outside the empty loft saw it clearly. This little guy is incredible. He's in the lead again. This comprehension is really enviable. I've seen him in my life. His comprehension is the best. Unfortunately, his realm is not enough, and his soul power is insufficient. The next few rounds will not be so easy. His comprehension is indeed good, but it's a pity that he suffered from the realm. I don't know how old his bones are. If he is young enough, maybe he will have a share of the position of Qingjiao in the future. Lin Moyu was covered by the divine light wood, so that the Taoist masters could not see his bone age clearly. Among the people present, only Xiao Yuan could see it clearly. Less than 2,500 years old, the realm of the middle-level Tianzuan, the soul of the first level of Daozuan, and the amazing luck. Such a person is certainly comparable to ordinary Tianjiao. If you can become my disciple. Xiao Yuan was more and more satisfied as he looked at it, and he had the idea of accepting a disciple in his heart. At this time, Lin Moyu suddenly had an idea. If I take the silver sap, I wonder if it can help me comprehend faster. Give it a try. Even if it doesn't work, it won't be a loss. The idea was very bold, and the action was equally bold. Lin Moyu's soul immediately took a drop of silver sap. The silver sap exploded in the soul, and inexplicable power poured in, and the soul became extremely active. Silver sap can increase the speed of cultivation. Lin Moyu has tried it, and for him, it can increase it by 10 times. The sound of the avenue, which was originally obscure and difficult to understand, suddenly became simple and easy to understand. The understanding of the secret method is increasing at an astonishing speed. Lin Moyu's ascent speed suddenly accelerated, at least twice as fast as before. Others were still descending, while he was ascending at an astonishing speed. Back and forth, the gap was rapidly widened. At the 17th minute, Lin Moyu's height had surpassed most of the Tianjiao, second only to a few in the top 20. Plop! Plop! Tianjiao kept falling into the water and being eliminated. They were pushed to the shore by invisible forces. Everyone could not move or speak, and could only watch those people hanging in the air. They became drowned rats and losers. Those people suspended in the air, to them, each one was a winner. The faces of all the Tianjios were not very good. They felt like they were being slapped in the face. Every second was like a year. They saw Lin Moyu, and they all showed disbelief. Why, a Tianzuan is here. He is not a Tianjiao, just a little follower. Why can he listen to the teachings in the center of the lake? What happened? Did I see it wrong? This is impossible. Am I not even as good as a Tianzuan? I am a Tianjiao. What is a little Tianzuan like him? I remember him. He is Lu Fengyao's follower. Is it a privilege given by Lu Fengyao? It must be like this. This is the mall. It is Lu Fengyao's territory. It must be a privilege given by Lu Fengyao. These eliminated Tianjios were all shouting in their hearts, but they could not speak and could only communicate with their eyes. From their eyes, we can see how excited they were. Not only were they excited, but even the Daozuan who was watching the show in the air was a little uneasy at this time. Lin Moyu suddenly started, which surprised them. What happened? Why did his comprehension speed suddenly increase so much? Something must have happened. Did he use any special means? Don't joke. In front of Senior Xiaohou, any special means will not work. But how do you explain this? What's the hurry? Senior Xiaohou is not in a hurry, so why should we be in a hurry? The Daozuan looked at Xiaohou Yuan one after another. There was nothing special on Xiaohou Yuan's old face. He was the same as usual, and he was not fluctuating. The Daozuan was disappointed. Xiaohou Yuan's reaction almost acquiesced to Lin Moyu's behavior. There was nothing wrong with it. According to the current situation, as long as Lin Moyu can maintain this speed of comprehension. In a few minutes, by the third round, he will surpass everyone and win the doctor's prize. The only problem now is Lin Moyu's realm. His realm determines his lack of soul power. Even if he comprehends faster or has stronger comprehension, soul power will be a shackle. Xiaohou Yuan's heart is not as calm as it appears. How did this kid do it? It's strange that I can't see through it. What kind of means can be hidden from the doctor? Xiaohou Yuan was very curious. Lin Moyu's comprehension speed suddenly increased several times, which was obviously abnormal. But he couldn't see how Lin Moyu did it, and he had to take care of his face. He couldn't tell others that he didn't understand. So he could only choose to remain silent and pretend that he saw it himself. At his level, other things are no longer important, and face is the first priority. Xiaohou Yuan studied it for a long time, but he really couldn't understand it. He moved his consciousness and contacted Lu Lian without telling anyone. Lu Lian, housekeeper, let the third ancestor help me. He knew that Lu Lian had been here all the time, and the third ancestor must be watching all the situations here. He couldn't see any clues, but maybe the third ancestor could see it. The voice of the third ancestor followed. I don't understand it either. This kid has a lot of secrets, and you don't have to figure them all out. Xiaohou Yuan said, I want to take him as my apprentice. What do you think, third ancestor? Lin Moyu came with Lu Fengyao, and Xiaohou Yuan instinctively felt that Lin Moyu was also a member of the Chamber of Commerce. If you want to take Lin Moyu as your apprentice, you naturally have to ask the opinions of the third group. The third ancestor replied, his name is Lin Moyu, and he is not a member of our Chamber of Commerce. If you want to take him as your apprentice, you can tell him yourself. But I don't recommend you to take him as your apprentice, and he will most likely not agree. Xiaohou Yuan's expression changed, revealing some doubts. Why? He didn't understand. With his status, position, and strength, was he not qualified to be a master of Tianzuan? Please give me flowers. The third ancestor said, he has karmic entanglements with many people, some of whom you don't want to see, such as the one in Leishan. Xiaohou Yuan was stunned for a moment. Is the guy in Leishan related to him? The third ancestor said, I don't know the specific relationship, but there must be a relationship. He has the mark of that person on his body. He also has a relationship with Hanshui Holy Land, and the relationship is not ordinary. And this kid's luck is amazingly strong. If you accept him as a disciple, while you get the blessing of luck, you will also have to bear the backlash of luck. We have known each other for many years. As an old friend, I have to advise you to think twice before you act. The third ancestor advised Xiahou Yuan as an old friend. At their level, there are many things to consider when accepting a disciple. It is not enough to just see a good talent and follow the brain. Xiahou Yuan was silent for a moment before speaking. I understand. Thank you for telling me, third ancestor, but I still have one thing to ask. Please tell me. What is the relationship between Feng Yao and him? Is it? The third ancestor did not wait for him to finish his words and said flatly, I don't know. No matter what the relationship between the two is, it is all fate. This ancestor will not interfere. His meaning is very clear. He will neither match them nor oppose them. Everything depends on fate. Xiahou Yuan knows the character of the third ancestor. The third ancestor he knows is like this. Everything depends on fate. However, after listening to the words of the third ancestor, Xiahou Yuan had to consider whether he should stick to his original idea and accept Lin Moyu as a disciple. The meaning of his third ancestor's words is actually telling him not to accept a disciple. If, as the third ancestor said, he has a relationship with the one in Leishan, what is the relationship? It should not be the disciple of the one in Leishan. If so, the third ancestor will definitely tell me. The relationship with Hansui Holy Land is not ordinary. What level is it extraordinary to? Huge luck, huge cause and effect, luck backlash. Xiahou Yuan thought for a while and said in his heart, forget it, let's wait until the Tianjiao conference is over and take a look at his performance. Putting away his thoughts for the time being, Xiahou Yuan presided over the Tianjiao conference. Time passed by, some people had stabilized their ascent, and more people fell into the lake and became losers. When the second 10 minutes were about to pass, more than half of the Tianjiao had become bystanders. At the 20th minute, the sound of the great Tao changed again. Everyone was shocked, and a huge force fell on them, and their understanding came to an abrupt end. Everyone began to descend again, and they had to wait until they understood the third round of the secret method of soul ascension before they could resist this pressure. At this time, there were less than 50 of the 100 geniuses left, and the Fairy Lotus Saint was still ranked first, 9 meters away from the lake, leaving enough time for herself. Lu Fengyao ranked second, and her height was slightly shorter than that of the Fairy Lotus Saint, but the difference was not big. The same was true for the few people after Lu Fengyao. Each of them was a little shorter, but the gap between them was not very big. These people belonged to the first echelon, and those who could enter the first echelon were almost all people in the second realm of Daozun, with only 2 exceptions. Lu Fengyao ranked second with her amazing comprehension in the first realm of Daozun. She was already amazing enough, but the most amazing was Lin Moshi. Among the 933 Daozun realms, Lin Moyu ranked 10th with the cultivation of the middle-level Tianzuan, just entering the front king. The third round of listening to the Tao began, and the sound of the Tao was like the sound of heaven, turning into obscure heavenly words, rushing towards us. Listen with your soul and feel with your heart. Lin Moyu felt the changes in the Tao. This time the Tao has become more obscure and difficult to understand, and the consumption of soul power has also increased a lot. But I should be able to continue to comprehend, and soon I will see the true effect of this secret technique. I hope it will be useful. Lin Moyu felt that the effect of the secret technique was gradually showing up. The first 2 rounds were just appetizers, and it was not yet time to really see the secret technique clearly. The requirements of the third round are indeed much higher than before. If you want to comprehend it, you need more soul power. At the same time, the oppression of the sound of Tao is much stronger than before. Even if you don't deliberately comprehend it, just listening to the sound of Tao will consume a lot of soul power. This consumption is too huge for Tianzuan. Muffled hums continued to sound, and the followers who came in with Tianjiao on the chairs by the lake woke up one after another because they couldn't bear the oppression of the sound of Tao. Once they woke up, it meant that they lost the qualification to continue listening to the sound of Tao. But no one of them had comprehended the secret technique of soul ascension before, so there was no loss. For them, listening to the Tao is just a different experience. Among the people present, although their realm is not enough for Daozuan, most of them are smart people. It's a pity that the realm is still low. Such a good opportunity, but I didn't understand it. The sound of the great Tao is too obscure, and the realm of that senior is too high. His great Tao is beyond our reach. Indeed, the gap is too big. In just such a short time, my soul power has almost been exhausted. Hey, why did so many of those geniuses fall into the lake? Were they eliminated? As soon as these words came out, the followers noticed that the people in the lake were also divided into two groups. One group was soaking in the lake. They were obviously unable to move and could only stare blankly. The other group was still suspended in the air and was slowly descending. Plop! Another person fell into the lake and was eliminated. In the next 10 seconds, several more people fell into the lake and joined the ranks of the eliminated. All the eliminated people were unwilling, but helpless. Suddenly someone asked, "Why is he here? I remember he is not a genius like us. Why can he go to the center of the lake? I remember him. He seems to be the follower of Fairy Feng Yao. Why is he treated differently from us? Oh my God, he flew so high, he can even be ranked in the top 10. Many people noticed Lin Moyu. Shrouded by divine light, Lin Moyu looked very special among the crowd. Gu Nianshui also saw Lin Moyu. Her eyes were wide open, her mouth was wide enough to fit a whole egg. How can he go to the center of the lake? What did he do? Is it because he has realized the great Tao? Having dealt with Lin Moyu before, Gu Nianshui deeply knows how powerful Lin Moyu is. Even though she has inherited the legacy of the Horned Dragon Star Lord, and with the full training of the Holy Land, she has become a heavenly lord from a saint lord in less than 100 years. But every time she thinks of Lin Moyu, she still feels a little difficult to fight. This time, when she saw Lin Moyu at the Tianjiao conference, she was determined to compete with Lin Moyu. Although her cultivation level is not as good as his for the time being, in terms of comprehension, Gu Nianshui thinks that she is not worse than those Tianjiao, let alone Lin Moyu. But now, Lin Moyu is in the center of the lake, in the air, and has realized the great Tao. She was at the lakeside and was blasted out by the great Tao. How big is the difference between the two? God, look, he is starting to rise. Others are still falling, but he is actually starting to rise. Could it be that he has realized it again? God, what kind of comprehension is this? It's too scary. Amidst the exclamations, Lin Moyu began to rise. It was the 24th minute. While others were still falling, Lin Moyu not only stopped falling, but began to rise. One drop and one rise, Lin Moyu surpassed the two people in front of him in a blink of an eye and was promoted to the 8th place. The two geniuses he surpassed were both in the second realm of Daozun. This can only mean that Lin Moyu's comprehension is far superior to them. Everyone stared at this miraculous scene with wide eyes, watching Lin Moyu surpass one genius after another. Another minute passed, and at the 25th minute, the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao, one in front and one behind, stabilized again and stopped falling. At this time, Lin Moyu has come to the 5th place, and there are only 4 people ahead of him. After stabilizing, the Saint of the Immortal Lotus opened her beautiful eyes as usual. She found that she was still in the 1st place, and she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But then, her eyes widened. In her sight, a person was slowly rising. This is impossible. How could someone comprehend faster than me? But the next moment, she became even more unbelievable, and her eyes were about to fall out. Because this person was just a Tianzuan. Her heart was like a huge hammer smashing wildly, shaking continuously. Isn't he Feng Yao's follower? Why is he here? What happened? She saw with her own eyes that Lin Moyu surpassed the 4th place and replaced the 4th place. And the upward momentum did not slow down at all, rushing to the 3rd place. The gap between the top few was not big, and it would not take long to surpass the 3rd place. Then it was the 2nd place, the 1st place. No, I can't let him surpass me, the 1st place is mine. The immortal Lotus Saint roared in her heart, and immediately began to listen to the avenue and comprehend the secret method. Lu Fengmiao also stabilized at the same time, but she did not look at other people, just comprehended the secret method herself. At the 16th minute, Lin Moyu came to the 3rd place. At this time, the immortal Lotus Saint finally comprehended the secret method of this round of soul ascension and began to rise. Lu Fengmiao also had a comprehension soon after, and also began to die. But in the eyes of outsiders, Lin Moyu's ascent speed was faster than theirs, and it was only a matter of a second before he surpassed them. People kept falling into the water and becoming eliminated. There were more people eliminated in the 3rd round, and by the end of this round, there were less than 2,000 people left in the air. At this time, Lin Moyu had slightly surpassed Lu Fengmiao, and seemed to be on par with the Fairy Lotus Saint. A Tianzuan who was just a follower actually ran on par with the Tianzuan who ranked first in the first stage of the Tianzuan conference. This kind of thing has never happened in the history of the Tianzuan conference. What is the difference between it and a miracle? Not everyone is jealous of Lin Moyu. Many people have already regarded Lin Moyu as an idol at this moment. In their eyes, Lin Moyu, who is chasing the Fairy Lotus Saint, is like a Tianzuan who killed Daozuan. Many people showed excitement in their eyes. Surpass her. Surpass her, win the first place, let her know that our Tianzuan is not necessarily worse than them. Brother, hold on, you must surpass her, I believe you can do it. Many people shouted for Lin Moyu, but unfortunately the voices outside could not be heard at all. Lin Moyu knew nothing about this, he just comprehended the great way. His soul power was being consumed rapidly. If he was just an ordinary Tianzuan, his soul power would be unsustainable at this moment. Fortunately, there was a world tree behind him, and the world tree continuously replenished Lin Moyu's soul power. At the end of the 3rd round, Lin Moyu's soul power was still full. The silver sap played a huge role, and Lin Moyu's speed of comprehension was 28 faster than everyone else. Finally, at the end of the 3rd round, Lin Moyu had already caught up with the Fairy Lotus Saint, and the two were evenly matched, with Lu Fengmiao following closely behind. In the 30th minute, another round began. The avenue of Xiahou Yuan's evolution underwent a qualitative change at this moment. The pressure doubled in an instant, and the people who were still suspended in the air suddenly dropped. The sound of falling into the water continued to sound, and those geniuses who had finally persisted to the 4th round fell into the water one after another. There were fewer and fewer people who could still stay in the air. When the last 10th person fell into the water, a force suddenly lifted him up, and he and his chair returned to their original seats together, and he did not become a drowned chicken. Although the result was elimination, whether or not they became a drowned chicken was completely different. They retreated gloriously, not in disgrace. The top 10 had different treatments and could return with glory. However, it was no longer important how they ended up. Apart from their followers, almost no one paid attention to them. Everyone present, including the geniuses who fell into the lake, was paying attention to the last few people in the air. There were only 5 people left in the air. Lin Moyu and the Fairy Lotus Saint were on par with each other, and Lu Fengmiao was only 1 step behind. These 3 people are now the first echelon. The remaining 2 were the heirs of the Dongfang family of Duantianya, Dongfang Wuwen, the Tianwan Saint of Wanjing Holy Land. Both of them were in the 2nd realm of Daozun. Dongfang Wuwen originally sat on the right, just after the Fairy Lotus Saint. The Tianwan Saint was slightly inferior in rank, but the comprehension he showed this time was excellent, and he had squeezed into the top 5. If Lin Moyu hadn't been here, he should have been in the top 4. The two were only 3 meters away from the water surface. At the current rate of descent, Tian Yubaju would not be able to pass this round. Compared with the 3 people of the Fairy Lotus Saint, they were 1 level lower. Logically speaking, these 5 people are all worthy of attention, and they are all the most outstanding geniuses of the contemporary era. Unfortunately, most people's attention is now focused on Lin Moyu. This heavenly venerable is creating a myth. In the 4th round, the pressure of the Great Tao doubled, and the sound of the Great Tao became more obscure. It is even more difficult to comprehend the subsequent secret techniques from it. Everyone is descending, and the speed is faster than before. At the 32nd minute, Dongfang Wuwen and Tianwan Xingzi fell into the water almost at the same time. At the moment of falling into the water, a force supported the two of them in their original seats. The two woke up and looked at each other instinctively, with a sense of mutual appreciation. At the same time, they also saw the only three people left in the air, and their smiles stopped abruptly. Lin Moyu, the heavenly venerable, was wrapped in divine light, standing there like a miracle. The pupils of the heavenly illusion saint shrank slightly. He could never have imagined that he would be defeated by a heavenly venerable. Dongfang Wuwen and the heavenly illusion saint reacted in the same way. As for why Lin Moyu was there, it was no longer important. What was important was that Lin Moyu was there and crushed him. In the 33rd minute, Lin Moyu suddenly stopped his decline. While the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao were still declining, in the blink of an eye, Lin Moyu overtook them and truly became the first. He understood. He understood again. Why, he can still understand. We are all human, why is there such a big difference in understanding? Everyone stared at Lin Moyu with their mouths open. Especially those eliminated Tianjiao looked at each other, unable to understand. Lin Moyu completed the reversal in the first round of the Tianjiao conference, the fourth round, the 33rd minute, and as a Tianzuan, he surpassed all the Daozuan Tianjiao of this conference. Tang Yu was the first. This is a moment worth recording. Lin Moyu created a new history. Maybe countless people will mention it in the future. There was such a Tianzuan, he once overwhelmed all the Tianjiao of that era. Not only the Tianjiao were stunned, but also the Daozuan, and they were speechless. In the mysterious land, the third ancestor slapped his thigh and laughed without any image. Lin boy, you are awesome, awesome. Now, countless people remember you, and you are famous in the whole origin continent. If I can get the title of the strongest genius, then I will become sworn brothers with you, and I will treat you as my brother. Lu Lian's voice sounded, third ancestor, please respect yourself. The third ancestor shouted, self-respect is bullshit. As long as this kind of person is not dead, his future is limitless, and he may be able to help me in the future. Lu Lian said, what if he died? The third ancestor said, he won't die. I won't make a mistake. Look at how much he has done since he arrived at the origin continent. This kind of scourge can't die. Lu Lian sighed, a little speechless. This third ancestor, when he gets angry, will persuade anyone. In the 34th minute, Lin Moyu had already separated the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao by half a body length, almost more than 1 meter. In the 35th minute, the two sides exceeded 1 body length, and Lin Moyu was far ahead. At this time, Lin Moyu suddenly began to rise, and the gap widened again. At the same time, the 903 Fairy Lotus Saint finally stopped falling and stabilized in the air. The pretty face was a little red. That was the performance of the soul power being consumed. Finally stabilized. The Fairy Lotus Saint exhaled, opened her beautiful eyes, and looked around. I found that there was only Lu Fengyao in front of me, and the rest were gone. That Tianzuan is gone. I should have been eliminated. The Saint of the Immortal Lotus could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. It would be too humiliating to lose to a heavenly lord. She looked down instinctively and saw that most people were in the lake, with a few heavenly lords by the lake. The Saint of the Immortal Lotus sensed something unusual. Why were these people looking upwards, at a place higher than themselves? No. A bad idea popped up in her mind, and she looked up. There was a chair, and a celestial being was sitting on it, with divine light all over his body, more than 2 meters above her head. At this moment, Saint Alien felt a sense of collapse in her heart. She thought the opponent had been eliminated, but she didn't expect that the opponent was far better than herself. She had been sought after by everyone since she was a child, and was cultivated by the ancient Lotus Holy Land with all her strength. This was the first time she was hit so hard. It's not that she can't afford to lose. She lost to the son of illusion god of Wanjing Holy Land 1,000 years ago. That's because her realm is not as good as the other party, 2 realms apart, and the difference in strength is huge. But now, she lost to a celestial being. What's the big deal? The Saint of Xinlian was a little collapsed in her heart, and a sense of frustration arose spontaneously. The heart collapsed, but the heart of Taoism was still strong. The frustration lasted only for a moment before it was wiped away. The soul of the Fairy Lotus Saint was buzzing, and a voice echoed in the soul world. Even if my comprehension is not as good as yours, you are only a heavenly venerable anyway. Listen, it is not only about comprehension, but also about soul power. It is nothing that you surpass me for a while. Whoever can hold on to the end is the real winner. The Fairy Lotus Saint did not admit defeat. She could admit that Lin Moyu's comprehension was better than hers, but in terms of realm, she still had an absolute advantage. Even if Lin Moyu was better than her in the future, that was in the future, not now. Now, she still had to fight with Lin Moyu. Moyu competed with the last one to see who could last to the end. She began to listen to the Tao again and comprehend the secret art. Lu Fengyao still maintained the same old way, 1 step slower than the Fairy Lotus Saint. But she didn't care about the outside world at all, not even wasting half a second. Lu Fengyao and the Fairy Lotus Saint were both successors cultivated by their respective top forces. They had the same experience, but different personalities. Lu Fengyao didn't care about other people's opinions, she only cared about herself, and she didn't care about whether it was embarrassing or not. The Fairy Lotus Saint, to a certain extent, would care about her face. However, the two also had something in common, that is, they had the same firm Tao heart, which was difficult to shake. The pattern in the center of the lake changed again, and Lin Moyu was far ahead and formed a team alone. The Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao followed closely behind, and the two formed the second team. To outsiders, it seemed that the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao were chasing Lin Moyu together. Lin Moyu's speed of advancement was very fast, and he gradually opened up the gap with the two. When the 4th round was about to end, Lin Moyu is already 12 meters away from the lake, which is higher than the 10-meter height of the Tianjiao at the beginning of the listening. This also shows that Lin Moyu's momentum is strong. Not only is it not declining, but it can also surpass. Xinlian Saint and Lu Fengyao are still 7 meters away from the lake, which is 3 meters lower than the beginning. The distance between them and Lin Moyu is also more than 3 meters. In fact, the situation of Xinlian Saint and Lu Fengyao is normal. Lin Moyu is an abnormal person. At this time, the whole audience was silent and waiting silently. The time came to the 40th minute, and the 5th round started on time. The power of the avenue came down like a waterfall, shaking the 3 people at the same time, and the sound of the avenue changed. The obscure sound of the avenue did not increase, but began to weaken. Then, huge runes fell from the avenue. The souls of several people felt these runes, and then heard a series of thunderous roars. The sound of the avenue was hidden in this roar, and the difficulty of comprehension increased again. The soul power began to be consumed rapidly, and the Fairy Lotus Saint said in her heart, "The soul power consumption has increased. I want to see how long you can hold on." She was unwilling to accept it and tried her best to comprehend the secret art in the rune. Lu Fengyao frowned slightly. Her realm was only the first realm of Daozuan, which was weaker than the Fairy Lotus Saint, and the same was true for the soul history. Before that, most of the soul power had been consumed, and this time the soul power was consumed more rapidly, which made her a little unbearable. Lin Moyu's soul power was also rapidly depleted, but with the World Tree, he could still bear it and not make ends meet. The soul saw runes one by one. These runes were extremely complex, and each rune was composed of countless runes. Lin Moyu saw at a glance that these runes were evolved from the Great Tao. And the secret technique was hidden in these runes. Lin Moyu only looked at it for a few seconds and completely understood the mystery. The runes are the key, and the sound of the Great Tao behind the runes is only secondary. To abandon the runes and instead comprehend the secret arts through the avenue is to seek the far away and to pursue the trivial. In Lin Moyu's eyes, runes are the essence. If you abandon the runes and just listen to the sound of the avenue, it is not to say that you cannot comprehend it. Song, the process will be quite tortuous. Comprehending runes is to point directly to the essence, which is relatively much simpler. However, this is only possible for practitioners who have learned runes. If you don't understand runes, you should listen to the sound of the avenue. In short, both paths can be taken. Runes are only suitable for a small number of people, and the sound of the avenue is suitable for most people. Lin Moyu decisively chose the path that only a small number of people can take and started to study runes directly. Runes are very complex, and the runes inside are entangled with each other, forming an extremely complex structure. Lin Moyu was dazzled by what he saw, and his soul power was rapidly consumed. He tried to disassemble the rune, and he found that many of the runes inside had changed their original sizes. The runes that were supposed to be large were reduced, and the runes that were supposed to be small became larger, and then they were combined to form the extremely complex rune in front of him. This rune is similar to the Dao pattern to a certain extent. Only the Dao pattern and his own Taiying rune can be compared with it. But the more complex it is, the more it can arouse Lin Moyu's interest. Lin Moyu completely blocked the sound of the Dao, and all his attention was focused on the rune. His thoughts turned quickly and gradually entered a state of ecstasy. He has a strong talent for runes, and he can easily use all kinds of runes. Lin Mo believes that he can also understand this rune clearly. Time keeps passing, and the three are all declining. This round is obviously more difficult. It was not until the 47th minute that the Fairy Lotus Saint and Lu Fengyao stabilized one after another. At this time, the two were less than 1 meter away from the lake, and they were about to be eliminated. The Fairy Lotus Saint looked up at Lin Moyu, and now Lin Moyu did not stabilize and continued to fall. She smiled. I have reached the limit, probably because of insufficient soul power. She collected her mind, continued to listen to the avenue, and learned the secret technique. Lu Fengyao was still the same, not wasting any time. Lin Moyu was still falling, and the gap between him and the two was rapidly narrowing. If he continued to fall at this speed, by the end of this round, Moyu would be on par with the two. If the Immortal Lotus Saint had some understanding, she could even surpass Lin Moyu. Only half a minute later, the Immortal Lotus Saint began to rise again. Lu Fengyao remained motionless, her forehead was slightly sweaty, and her soul power fluctuated a little unusually. It was obvious that Lu Fengyao's soul power, Zhao Lihao, had reached its limit, and it was difficult for her to continue to comprehend the secret technique. It was already very difficult for her to maintain this height now. The gap between the first and second realms of Dao Zun was reflected at this moment. Lu Fengyao seemed to know that she had reached her limit, and finally opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were full of fatigue, and she slowly swept around. Are you all eliminated? It seems that my results are not bad. Looking at the people who had been eliminated, Lu Fengyao showed a moving smile. She was very satisfied with her results. From the beginning, she didn't think much, just tried her best, and she could accept whatever results she could get. What are these people looking at? She noticed the eyes of others and looked up. She found that there were two people above her head. The Immortal Lotus Saint, it's really better than me. This is Brother Lin. When he found out that the other person was Lin Moyu, Lu Fengren let out a strange cry. Lu Fengyao covered her mouth. She was more surprised than anyone else, but after being surprised, she felt it was natural. Brother Lin, you are more powerful than I thought. It's great. But why is he declining? Is it because he is not strong enough like me? What a pity. In Lu Fengyao's eyes, the realm finally became the root problem that bound Lin Moyu. If the realm is not high enough and the soul power is not enough, you will always suffer, just like herself. As the Fairy Lotus Saint continued to rise and Lin Moyu continued to decline, in the 49th minute, the two finally equaled again. The Fairy Lotus Saint seemed to sense Lin Moyu, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously showed a smile of victory. The people watching couldn't help but sigh. He still lost, what a pity. It's nothing to regret, this brother is already strong enough. If his realm was higher, the one who lost might be the Fairy Lotus Saint. A mid-level Heavenly Venerable and a second-level Taoist Venerable, there is a big realm difference and several small realms difference. The strength is indeed difficult to make up for. In short, this brother is also a face for us Heavenly Venerables. He will definitely become a Tianjiao in the future. It's hard to say, we don't even know his age. What if he is over the age limit? I don't believe it. I feel he is still very young, younger than you can imagine. In Lin Moyu's soul world, Lin Moyu's research on runes has reached the final stage. The runes have been completely disassembled by him and are now being combined. As the runes are combined with each other, a secret technique naturally emerges in his mind. Soul Ascension Secret Technique. It turns out that this secret technique is called Soul Ascension Secret Technique. The function of the secret technique is to improve the soul realm. Although it is only a short-term improvement, it is very useful when practicing. The higher the soul realm, the clearer the understanding of the avenue, and the faster the practice. Lin Moyu finally understood that the Soul Ascension secret art is actually a secret art used to assist in practice. The Soul Ascension secret art is derived from the Soul Avenue. After using it, the soul can be temporarily raised to 3 realms. If it can be raised to 3 realms, then the speed of practice can be increased by at least 3 times. This is the case for others, but for Lin Moyu, the effect is far more than that. The Soul Ascension secret art, combined with the silver tree sap, the effect will be unknown. In addition, Lin Moyu can also use the Soul Ascension secret art for other purposes, such as the original technique, Gathering Force. Gathering Force is subject to the dual restrictions of the body and the soul. At least with the Soul Ascension secret art, the soul restrictions can be relaxed. The most important thing is that this secret art has almost no side effects except for the time limit, which is almost perfect. It's really good. It's tailor-made for me. Lin Moyu opened his eyes and found that he was only a little more than 1 meter away from the lake. Lu Fengyao was not far in front of him, and Saint Alien was nearly 3 colors taller than him. Lin Moyu wanted to speak, but found that he could not make a sound, knowing that he was restricted here. Lu Fengyao winked at Lin Moyu, as if asking, "How are you? Can you continue?" Lin Moyu understood immediately and nodded slightly, indicating that he could. Lu Fengyao winked again, as if saying, "Then continue, surpass her." Lin Moyu smiled slightly and gave Lu Fengyao a reassuring look. The next second, he officially used the soul technique. The secret techniques that he had learned from listening to the sound of the Great Tao before were all incomplete versions, and could only exert a little bit of the power of the Soul Ascension secret technique. According to the rules, only the Soul Ascension secret technique can resist the pressure of the Great Tao. The stronger the secret technique, the faster it will go. This time, Lin Moyu used the complete version of the Soul Ascension secret technique. Although he had only learned it in the beginning and was not proficient, it was better than the incomplete version. As soon as the secret technique was used, Lin Moyu felt his body lighten, and he and his chair rose rapidly. So fast. Lu Fengyao watched Lin Moyu rise with his own eyes, and couldn't help but be surprised. Lin Moyu's rising speed was too fast, almost 1 meter every 10 seconds, much faster than before. Lin Moyu's movement immediately caused an uproar among the crowd. People who had previously vowed that Lin Moyu was not good were slapped in the face. The Taoist masters in the sky were also surprised, and they had also thought that Lin Moyu had reached his limit before. But even so, in their eyes, Lin Moyu was already a genius. It was just that he suffered from the soul realm. If Lin Moyu and the Fairy Lotus Saint were in the same realm, almost everyone thought that Lin Moyu could surpass the Fairy Lotus Saint and get the first place in this round. Even the Taoist masters of the ancient Lotus Holy Land had to admit that Lin Moyu's comprehension was indeed better than their own Fairy Lotus Saint. But they never expected that Lin Moyu still had some strength left, and his speed of ascension was unprecedented. The Dao Zuns looked at Xiahou Yuan one by one in surprise. Only Xiahou Yuan, the host, understood the situation. Xiahou Yuan smiled. He has comprehended the complete soul-raising secret technique. The Dao Zuns present were shocked. They all knew that the core of this lecture was the soul-raising secret technique. If anyone could truly comprehend the soul-raising secret technique, he would definitely be the final winner. Unfortunately, the soul-raising secret technique was too difficult, and even if they were Dao Zuns, it would probably take a long time to comprehend it. It was almost impossible to comprehend the soul-raising secret technique in just a few dozen minutes. No one could have imagined that Lin Yu actually comprehended it. Someone asked, Senior Xiaohou, how did he comprehend it? Xiaohou Yuan said, this question should not be asked. The man immediately realized that he had asked the wrong question and should not have asked it. No matter what method he used to understand it, it was the other party's secret. In the last minute of the fifth round, Lin Moyu rose with an astonishing momentum, surpassing the Fairy Lotus Saint again in full view of the crowd and taking the lead. At the beginning of the sixth round, the Fairy Lotus Saint's upward trend temporarily ended and began to decline again. She opened her beautiful eyes and saw Lu Fengyao being eliminated, but did not see Lin Moyu. Where are the others? The Fairy Lotus Saint had a bad premonition in her heart and was inexplicably flustered. When she looked up, she saw Lin Moyu shrouded in a faint light. Lin Moyu's height at this time was at least 10 meters higher than hers, which was almost out of reach. How is this possible? The Fairy Lotus Saint was completely panicked. The best is not just the distance. She found that she was descending, and Lin Moyu was still rising. It was just the beginning of a new round. Why could he still rise? This was simply against common sense. The heart of the immortal Lotus Saint was completely confused, and she could no longer calm down to listen to the avenue. She could not calm down until she touched the lake and was sent away by a force. Lin Moyu was the only one left on the entire lake. He was like an emperor sitting on a dragon throne, overlooking all the sky bridges on the scene. The sound of the avenue stopped, and Xiaohou Yuan appeared in front of Lin Moyu, looking at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu knew that he was brought to the lake by this senior, and it was he who made him participate in this test, and it was also he who made him stand out. Lin Moyu originally did not want to stand out, but now, he could not blame this senior. After all, he had just learned the secret technique of soul ascension from someone else. How could he blame him? Xiaohou Yuan looked at Lin Moyu. You are very good. Xiaohou Yuan looked at Lin Moyu. Little guy, do you know what the biggest reward of this round is? Lin Moyu almost thought, the secret art of soul ascension. Xiaohou Yuan smiled. Lin Moyu's answer was very correct. When did you guess it? Xiaohou Yuan continued to ask. Lin Moyu did not avoid the question. I guessed it from the beginning. Although I don't know what this secret art is, I guessed that this secret art will be the biggest reward when I just heard the sound of the avenue. But at that time, I didn't have the opportunity to learn and control this secret art. Thank you, Senior. Lin Moyu's words came from the heart, very sincere, and extremely sincere. With Xiaohou Yuan's realm, he could naturally hear that Lin Moyu was telling the truth. Xiaohou Yuan smiled and said, if I want you to participate in the next test with a special identity, do you agree? Lin Moyu was slightly stunned and looked down. Junior is not just Tianzuan. Xiaohou Yuan shook his head. This is not important. What is important is whether you are willing or not. You don't have to care about other people's thoughts. What they are like is also not important. I only ask you, are you willing or not? Lin Moyu also did not think too much. It is fortunate for me to compete with all the Tianjiao on the same stage. Even if I lose, it is also my honor. I am willing. Xiaohou Yuan heard the hidden meaning of Lin Moyu. Even if I lose, that is to say, I may not lose. Although he said it modestly, he was actually full of confidence in himself. It's just that not many people can hear the sound of the string. Most of the Tianjiao present felt that Lin Moyu thought he was not as good as them and had some feelings about Lin Mo's opinion. Xiaohou Yuan waved his hand, and everyone in the lake returned to their original positions instantly. The clothes on his body dried in an instant, as if nothing had happened. Lin Moyu also flew back to his original position at the same time, still behind Lu Fengyao. Lu Fengyao gave a thumbs up. Brother Lin, you are awesome. Lin Moyu smiled, just lucky. Lu Fengyao said, can you teach me the secret technique of soul raising? Lin Moyu said, I will ask the senior later. As long as the senior agrees, I have no problem. Lu Fengyao didn't expect Lin Moyu to agree so readily and couldn't help but smile. I'm kidding you. If I want it, I will naturally ask Senior Xiaohou for it. Lin Moyu asked curiously, Sister Feng knows the senior? Lu Fengyao said, of course, I have known Senior Xiaohou since I was a child, but Senior Xiaohou doesn't like to talk. On weekdays, I guess he doesn't say as much as he just said to you in a year. Senior Xiaohou looks at you differently. It seems that your performance makes him very satisfied. Lin Moyu nodded slightly and said nothing. Feeling someone looking at him, Lin Moyu turned his head and met Gu Nianshui's gaze. When their eyes met, Gu Nianshui immediately turned his head and looked away. But from that moment just now, Lin Moyu felt the complexity in her eyes. That complexity is hard to describe. It seems a little jealous, a little hateful and unwilling, and there are some other factors in it. Even Lin Moyu couldn't understand the extremely complex look. At this time, Xiao Hoyuan said loudly, the first round is over, everyone's results have been recorded, and the seats will be redistributed according to everyone's results. Everyone, sit in place, don't move. The seating order is not fixed. As the Tianjiao conference progresses, the seating order will continue to change. In the last Tianjiao conference, the seat of the Fairy Lotus Saint was ranked third at the beginning. Later, as the conference progressed, it continued to improve, and at the end it was ranked second only to the Huanqing Saint. Without the Holy Son of Illusion this time, the Holy Lady of Fairy Lotus was ranked first directly. There is a very strict set of rules for the ranking, and Lu Lian will calculate the final result, and no one can interfere. Rays of light fell from the sky, covering everyone. Each ray of light covered 2 seats, one for the Tianjiao and his followers. Only Lu Fengyao and Lin Moyu were different, with 2 rays of light covering the 2 people respectively. Through the conversation between Lin Moyu and Xiao Yuan just now, everyone knew that Lin Moyu would also participate in the Tianjiao conference. A Tianzuan participated in the Tianjiao conference, which was unprecedented in the history of the Tianjiao conference and was worthy of being recorded in the history books. After the light lasted for 10 seconds, it suddenly changed. Everyone's seats changed unconsciously. Some people's rankings were promoted, while others were demoted. Some were happy, while others were unhappy. The original 100 seats became 101. Lin Moyu was ranked 51st on the left, the last. Although it was the last, Lin Moyu had no objection. Participating in the Tianjiao conference as a Tianzuan and competing with a group of Daozans on the same stage has created a historical precedent. Lu Fengyao's ranking changed. Because of his outstanding performance in the first ring, Lu Fengyao's ranking was 6th from the left, and the total ranking was 11th. Tian Wanqingzi, who was originally on the 3rd right, came to the 2nd right, and the total ranking was 4th. Zero asked for flowers. Dongfang Wuwen, who was originally on the 1st right, still has the same ranking. Xinlian Shengv, who was on the 1st left, also did not change and still maintained the 1st position. The rest of the people changed a little bit, but not much. To continue to change, it depends on the next results. Xiao Yuan said loudly, 2nd ring, inner demon. As his voice fell, the lake water suddenly rose, and water balls flew out and fell in front of everyone. Each Tianjiao had 2 water balls, no more, no less. Everyone, hold the water ball, don't break the water ball, and those who break both water balls will be eliminated. The rules are also very simple. Everyone holds the water ball in front of them. The water ball is very soft and will break with just a little force. This degree of slight force is the level of a baby. 0. Even a baby can break the water ball. Everyone carefully holds the water ball in the palm of his hand, not daring to use any force. In this way, it is equivalent to the whole person being fixed in the seat. As long as they move a little, they may break the water ball. The water ball is too soft, even if it is wrapped with the softest force, it will be useless. Xiao Yuan chuckled. The second round of the test begins. A hazy road emerged, and the entire venue suddenly became dark, shrouded by an indescribable light, and even revealed a bit of gloomy atmosphere. Xiao Yuan disappeared, leaving only this hazy road. The hazy road slowly descended, getting closer and closer to everyone, bringing an indescribable pressure. Everyone was pressed on the chair by the power of the road and couldn't move, as if they would be crushed by the road in the next second. The chair creaked, as if it couldn't bear the pressure and would collapse at any time. The road was getting closer and closer, and some people instinctively wanted to struggle, and their palms instinctively wanted to send out. But they quickly woke up and stopped their instincts. The road didn't touch them in the end, but fell into the lake. The calm lake water boiled, like cold water poured into hot oil, and the lake water set off huge waves. The huge waves turned into hideous giants, waving swords and weapons, killing everyone. Resist or not resist. All the geniuses were determined, and the scene before them was not enough to shake their hearts. Illusions, all illusions. Don't pay attention to it, don't pay attention to it. The geniuses said similar words in their hearts. No one moved, and no water ball crusher knife was used. The giant swords fell on the Tianjios, and the Tianjios did not move at all, but took the blows with their bodies. The swords turned into flowing water and disintegrated on the spot, without causing any harm to the Tianjios. The water flowed all over the ground, and then silently penetrated into the bodies of the Tianjios and went straight into their souls. The Tianjios closed their eyes one after another, and their consciousness sank into their souls, as if they had entered another world. The second round has just begun. The theme of this round is the inner demon, which is not so easy to pass. Except for the Tianjios and Lin Moyu, it was a different picture in the eyes of others. There was no avenue at all, and there was no lake giant. After announcing the start of the second round, Xiao Yuan just pressed his palm down lightly, and all the Tianjios seemed to fall asleep at the same time. The whole venue became extremely weird. Some people instinctively wanted to speak, but found that they could not make any sound. Not only could they not make any sound, they could not even move, and could only watch. 490. The Tianjios had different expressions, and their bodies were sometimes tense and sometimes relaxed. Powerful auras rose from time to time, and then fell again, as if everyone was experiencing various scenes. The Dao masters outside the aerial formation also watched the performance of the Tianjiao. In their eyes, they could see more information. According to the time, the first level should have been passed. No one was eliminated, and the state of mind seems to be pretty good. The first level is the easiest, just let them feel a little bit of external pressure, not the real heart demon at all. Indeed, if this level can't be passed, how bad will the state of mind be? With such a Dao heart, what qualifications can be called a Tianjiao? The next step is difficult, the heart demon. Everyone has to face the thing they don't want to face the most. I don't know who can hold on to the end. I'm really curious about what these Tianjios don't want to face. Lin Moyu also saw the avenue fall, and the lake giant slashed towards him, but he saw at a glance that it was just an illusion and was not moved at all. He has played a lot of illusions, and this level can basically be ignored. Lin Moyu felt the lake water invading his body, and his eyes blurred, and pictures appeared one after another. It was a battlefield, and the battlefield seemed to be located in the starry sky, with stars and vastness. Lin Moyu felt that this starry sky was a little strange, as if he had never seen it before. My inner demon, is it a battlefield? This environment is a little strange, it doesn't seem to be the starry sky of the big world. Shouldn't the inner demon be the past in my memory? Why is there a strange place that I have never seen? The inner demon is an illusion, but it is different from an ordinary illusion. If you fall into the world of the inner demon and cannot get out, you may sink into the world of the inner demon forever. Lin Moyu naturally knew that Senior Xiahou would never let this happen, and he must have a way to pull people out of the world of the inner demon. Senior Xiahou's avenue seems to be related to the soul. Could it be the soul avenue? Lin Moyu, while looking at the heart demon world, he also had time to think about other things. If those geniuses who were waiting for the battle knew about it, I wonder what they would think. The heart demon world was quiet and there seemed to be nothing. However, Lin Moyu found that the starry sky in front of him was approaching rapidly, from which he could judge that he was moving at an astonishing speed. Compared with the starry sky in the big world, based on experience, he could judge that his speed had definitely exceeded the speed of light. But time and space did not form a distortion, and the space was still calm, which was very strange. Once the speed approaches the speed of light, it will inevitably cause changes in time and space. At that time, it is necessary to change space or time, and it will not be able to surpass the limit. Now nothing has been found, Lin Moyu feels a little weird. Gradually, Lin Moyu found that something was wrong. He had seen this starry sky. Many years ago, when he was still very weak, magic was not magic, but was called skills. When he awakened his skills, he had seen this starry sky. That was in the Origin Secret Realm, where thousands of invincible warriors were killed by an old man riding a green bull and wearing a green robe. The old man recited the Tao Te Ching and paved a path to the cause with the flesh and blood of these invincible warriors. At that time, he was shocked, and at the same time, he was left with an extremely deep impression of the old man in green robe. As for later, he met the old man in green robe several times, and he changed from a respected senior to a bad old man. Whenever he thought of it, Lin Moyu couldn't help but curse him in his heart. But thinking about it carefully, there are really few things that can make him feel scared in his cultivation career. This thing can barely be counted as one. Others, it seems that he can't remember. I didn't expect that I am really brave. I am really ignorant. Now that the heart demon world has evolved this strange starry sky again, Lin Moyu feels a little funny. After all, that was not what happened to me, it was just a scene I had seen, zero. And those invincible strongmen, and that bad old man in green robe, can the inner demon really evolve? Or, can Xiahou Yuan's avenue evolve? Lin Moyu couldn't help but have a guess in his heart. If it was really as he guessed, then there was no point in evolving, it was impossible to evolve. Lin Moyu did nothing, he just watched quietly, just like he did back then, watching the show. The process finally reached the moment when those invincible strongmen appeared, and the inner demon began to evolve these beings according to Lin Moyu's memory. 1, 2, 3. Thousands of strongmen appeared, and their images became clear from blurry. Bang, bang, bang. These invincible strongmen exploded one after another, and the inner demons failed to evolve. Invincible strongmen were not something that could be evolved by the heart. Lin Moyu recalled carefully that every invincible strongman was stepping on an avenue at that time. According to the realm, each of these invincible strongmen should have surpassed the 9th realm of Dao Zun, which is not something that a mere inner demon can evolve. As for the stronger green-robed bad old man, it is even more impossible to evolve. The invincible strongman exploded on the spot before he was formed, and the inner demon world collapsed. Lin Moyu did not move at all during the whole process, just watching the show. With his eyes opened, Lin Moyu saw the other people, those geniuses, each with their eyes closed, their whole body aura surging, their brows sometimes relaxed and sometimes frowned. 10 of them were fighting with their own inner demons. Lin Moyu looked left and right bored, looking a little bored. His actions attracted the attention of many people. 3.5 But everyone, unable to speak, could only watch, but with all kinds of speculations in their hearts. Why did he wake up? Didn't he say he had to go through the test of his inner demon? Why didn't he do it? Could it be that he broke through the blockade of his inner demon? The Dao Masters in the sky were in an uproar again. How could he wake up so quickly? Where is his inner demon? How could he break through it so quickly? Too weird. Could it be that he has no heart? No inner demon? That's impossible. I don't think it's possible either. He must have used some method to break through his inner demon. Could it be that his Dao heart is so firm that even the inner demon can hardly invade it? The Tao Masters were talking, and their voices were getting louder and louder, and everyone had their own opinions. Xiao Yuan finally couldn't help but shouted, "Silence!" Among those present, Xiao Yuan was still the only one who knew the real situation. The real situation was completely different from what others were discussing, and it was not the same thing at all. The voice of the third ancestor rang in Xiao Yuan's ears. Does he really have no inner demons? The third ancestor had also been watching the Tianjiao conference, and was also curious about how Lin Moyu could wake up so quickly. Xiao Yuan said, "This boy does have inner demons, but my Tao is not enough to evolve his inner demons. He collapsed halfway through the evolution, so he woke up." The third ancestor was silent for a few seconds on the other end. "Even your Tao cannot evolve. Why don't you try again and see if there is anything else?" Xiao Yuan said, "I have the same idea." As he said that, he glanced at Lin Moyu, and the lake water exploded again, turning into a water dragon rushing towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu did not move at all, letting the water dragon rush over him. So there is a second round. Lin Moyu thought in his heart. He felt strange. How could this round be so simple? He passed it easily, and it turned out that there was a second round waiting for him. The Illusion 30 realm appeared again in front of him, and Xiao Yuan used his own avenue to evolve a world of inner demons again. This time, he still searched from the depths of Lin Moyu's memory to find the memories that Lin Moyu had been afraid of. However, Lin Moyu was afraid of too few memories, and the inner demon world evolved for a long time, and finally evolved an outline. Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment, and blurted out, "Isn't this the Origin Secret Realm?" 2 times in a row, and it was related to the Origin Secret Realm. Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, deep in his heart, is there such a strong obsession with the Origin Secret Realm? Lin Moyu saw a familiar scene again, the source bird with the blood of the origin and the long cry. The source bird is a pitiful creature, carrying the blood of the origin, destined to a fateful place. Countless strong men want to hunt it and get its blood. The origin blood is like infinite magic power. No matter which realm the strong men are in, they all covet it. Lin Moyu is very clear that the source bird he saw in the Origin Secret Realm is not the real Source Island. It originally existed because of some kind of force. It should also be related to the old man in green robe, but the source bird he saw is still powerful, so powerful that it makes people frightened. Lin Moyu didn't know what kind of existence was qualified to hunt the source bird, but he was sure that there were more than just Dao Zun. He had seen Dao Zun from the weakest level to the strongest level, and none of them were strong enough to hunt the source bird. It can be seen that the source bird was much stronger than the Dao Zun. When he saw the source bird at that time, he was indeed frightened and horrified. That was also one of the few scenes that could be called scary. The heart demon wanted to evolve the source bird, which was really. Sure enough, the heart demon was halfway through evolving. Just as the outline was evolved, it collapsed again, and the entire heart demon world collapsed. Lin Moyu did nothing again and passed the level. Lin Moyu woke up for the second time and looked around with some helplessness. The situation of many Tianjiao seemed not good, and they were trembling one by one, and their palms seemed to be ready to exert force at any time. The Dao Zun in the sky and the followers underground looked at Lin Moyu, who had woken up for the second time. Moyu, everyone was stunned, not knowing what to say. The voice of the third ancestor once again reached Xiao Yuan's ears. What happened this time? Xiao Yuan said with some helplessness, same as always, my second memory is also unfathomably powerful, and my inner demon cannot evolve. The third ancestor obviously gritted his teeth. What on earth has this kid experienced? Why are there so many things? Can you try again? Xiao Yuan nodded, I'll try again. The lake water rushed towards Lin Moyu for the third time, and Lin Moyu accepted it calmly. A world of inner demons appeared in front of him again. The other side? After seeing clearly, Lin Moyu could not help but be stunned. He actually came to the world on the other side. This was the world that Tuan Ninggawawa saw after crossing the other side. Because of some special reasons, he looked for a little longer, unlike other practitioners who only took a quick glance. Lin Moyu smiled bitterly. The inner demon is a little stupid. This world is not something you can evolve. And this world, I am shocked, not afraid. Lin Moyu was speechless about this inner demon. No matter how he looked, he could not evolve. In the inner demon world, a gourd with water leaking everywhere gradually formed, and then, with a bang, the gourd exploded on the spot. This time, even the outline could not be evolved. It was only 10 seconds before and after, and Lin Moyu woke up for the third time. He still did nothing, but he had passed the level. Before the third ancestor asked, Xiao Yuan took the initiative to speak. The counterattack is even more terrifying. The third time, it collapsed faster than the previous 2 times. Xiao Yuan didn't want to try again. He was afraid that if he tried again, he would have a demon in his heart. The third ancestor was silent for a moment before saying, there are too many secrets in this kid. Think about it yourself, whether you still want to accept him as a disciple. Xiao Yuan nodded gently and said to himself, this kid is a freak. After breaking through the demon world 3 times in a row, Lin Moyu was still the first one to wake up. He looked around boredly, and waited for a few minutes, and finally saw someone couldn't bear it. This was his 88th rank Tianjiao. He suddenly widened his eyes and roared, I will kill you. 2 balls of water were crushed by him on the spot. The moment the water balls burst, they splashed on his face. He suddenly woke up and stood there. What happened? The demon disappeared, and he didn't react for a while. At this time, an invisible force fell on him, and he disappeared on the chair, and appeared in the lake in the next second. The situation was exactly the same as when he was eliminated in the first round. He became a drowned chicken again, unable to speak or move in the lake. This is the punishment for the eliminated. Then, someone else woke up from the world of inner demons, and at the same time 214 crushed the 2 water balls. What they experienced, only they themselves know, outsiders don't know. But looking at their appearance, you can tell that their experience will not be wonderful. The inner demon always chooses the weakest memory to invade, and it is often the most frightening memory. Everyone present knew that the first place in this round of competition had been taken away by Lin Moyu. This Tianzuan was too strange, and no one knew how he cracked the world of inner demons. And he broke it 3 times in a row, faster each time. Even if someone can break the inner demon 3 times in a row, he has already lost to Lin Moyu in terms of speed. Except for a weaker realm, his comprehension and Tao heart have surpassed all the geniuses present. Such a person's future achievements are bound to be unlimited. Gu Nianshui looked at Lin Moyu with complicated eyes. She felt that her revenge plan would be postponed indefinitely. If things go wrong, she may not have the chance to take revenge in this life. Even if she becomes a star king, Lin Moyu will not know how much he has grown by then. Lin Moyu's future is unimaginable. Gu Nianshui even had a thought in her mind, should I make peace with him? Maybe I can bring a friend to the Holy Land. She thought so in her heart, but she was a little unwilling. Her competitive spirit since she was a child made her very unwilling. Lin Moyu felt Gu Nianshui's gaze again, and it was still so complicated. I don't know what she was thinking. Water balls kept breaking. What happened in the world of inner demons was known only to each person, and outsiders could not find out. One by one, the awakened geniuses were eliminated and thrown directly to the lake, enjoying the same treatment as the previous round. After the experience once, these geniuses were obviously thick-skinned, and they didn't care much when they fell into the lake for the second time. Even in the lake, they could communicate with each other with their eyes, say hello, and so on. Anyway, I was the only one who was embarrassed, and there were so many people to accompany me. The test of this round was not based on time, but on whether the inner demons were defeated. Even if the time was dragged on for a long time, if the inner demons were not defeated in the end, it would still be considered a failure. The inner demons were difficult to defeat, and more geniuses were eliminated. Finally, a genius ranked 31st woke up with a low shout. The water ball in his hand broke with a sound, but fortunately only one was broken, and the other was intact. After he woke up, he stood there in a daze, and for a while he hadn't recovered from the world of inner demons. However, he was not thrown into the lake, and was not among the eliminated. After the man woke up, he quickly discovered this and couldn't help but smile like a winner. Lin Moyu saw it and felt that things shouldn't be so simple. After all, he had gone through 3 rounds, and he had only 1 round. How could it be so easy? Sure enough, he was happy for less than 2 seconds, and a water dragon rose from the lake and hit him directly. And before he finished speaking, he fell into the inner demon again. Lin Moyu smiled. This is decent, otherwise it would be unfair. I have enjoyed the inner demon 3 times, why should others only enjoy it once? It should be fair to have at least 2 times. Finally, someone noticed Lin Moyu, the outlier, who sat there motionless, staying awake, with 2 balls of water intact. But these losers who were soaking in the lake could not speak or ask questions, and could only watch with their eyes. Someone else woke up. This time it was the Fairy Lotus Saint. 1 second after the Fairy Lotus Saint woke up, Lu Fengyao also woke up. After that, Dongfang Wuwen, Tianwan Saint, Gu Bichuan, Caixia Saint, Wu Xingchen and others woke up one after another. The awakening time of the top 10 people was almost the same, and the difference between the two was no more than a field of seconds. And the water balls in everyone's hands were not broken, which shows that these people's humanity is very strong and can defeat the inner demon. Soon, the second round began, and the lake water turned into water dragons, hitting them one after another, and took them into the inner demon again. The second round of the inner demon is much more difficult than the first round. From the expressions of these geniuses, it can be seen that the pressure is much greater. Lin Moyu was free, so he began to feel Xiahou Yuan's avenue. The venue was full of the power of Xiahou Yuan's avenue. Lin Moyu could deeply feel that Xiahou Yuan's avenue was deeply related to the soul, and it was most likely the soul avenue. Lin Moyu thought of the Soul Lord in the big world. The Soul Lord also walked the Soul Avenue, but it was the Soul Avenue in the big world. The Soul Avenue in the big world evolved from the Soul Avenue in the origin continent. Logically speaking, Xiahou Yuan's ability was far superior to that of the Soul Lord in the big world. If the Soul Lord could not be found, perhaps looking for Xiahou Yuan was also a calendar. Lin Moyu would naturally not forget about Lillian. He promised Lillian that he would let her people reappear in the world. Perhaps this is a chance. But in order for Senior Xiahou to be willing to help me, at least I have to show enough ability. He did find that Xiahou Yuan viewed himself differently from others, so he had to raise the stakes. Lin Moyu probably already knew what those high-ranking strong men were really pursuing. Power was not enough for them. What they were really pursuing was a higher realm, a stronger power, and even eternal life. Having experienced longevity, they hoped to get eternal life. To achieve eternal life, they must surpass Dao Zun and become another level of existence. Lin Moyu began to think about what he could do for them and what he could do to help them. After thinking about it, he seemed to have no bargaining chips to show. Only he might be of some use. In the end, it's still luck. The third ancestor is on good terms with me, and it is probably also a matter of luck. After learning that I am the son of Tying, the third ancestor's attitude has changed a little. Although these changes are not big, they do exist. If you want to get luck, you don't have to fight and kill. Making friends is also a good way. Lin Moyu had a lot of thoughts at this moment, and they were very complicated. If the third ancestor knew that Lin Moyu had such thoughts, Tian Yubaju would call him a fox. Ah! Asshole! Screaming came one after another, and more people woke up from their inner demons, but most of them did not defeat their inner demons and became losers. A few people barely defeated their inner demons and only broke a water ball. At present, only those who can really defeat their inner demons and ensure that the water ball is safe and sound are those who are ranked in the top 10. Those geniuses who barely survived the first round are about to usher in the second round of examinations. Lin Moyu knew very well that it would be difficult for them to pass the second round of tests. Bang! The water ball broke, followed by 10 long breaths. The immortal Lotus Saint woke up from the second round of the Heart Demon. The water ball on her left hand was broken, and the one on her right hand was intact. The immortal Lotus Saint was a little relieved that she still had one ball and was not eliminated. She still exuded a faint murderous intent, and obviously had not recovered from her previous state of mind. There was a sense of vigilance in her eyes, as if she was preparing for the third round of the Heart Demon. But after waiting for a while, there was no third round of the Heart Demon. Lin Moyu was stunned for a moment. Why didn't she have a second round? I clearly experienced 3 rounds of the Heart Demon, while the immortal Lotus Saint only experienced 2 rounds. Lin Moyu laughed at himself. Is this also a special treatment for me? Bang! 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 The water balls broke one after another, and Lu Fengyao, Dongfang Wuwen, and others woke up one after another. Their results were the same as the immortal Lotus Saint. They only broke one water ball, and the other water ball was intact. They also did not have the third round of tests, and this round of tests ended with a draw. Several people couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, looking at each other and congratulating each other. The fairy Lotus Saint looked at Lin Moyu and frowned. Lin Moyu remained awake at this time, and the 2 water balls were also in good condition, unlike them. And from the look of Lin Moyu, it seemed that he had been waiting for a long time. She didn't know what happened to Lin Moyu, and it felt very strange. Lu Fengyao also looked over with an inquiring look, and Lin Moyu could only shrug slightly, and couldn't move too much, for fear of breaking his water ball. As the water balls broke one by one, the geniuses were constantly eliminated. The second round was obviously more difficult than the first round. In the end, except for the top 10 geniuses and Lin Moyu, the outlier, the rest of them failed to survive the second round and were thrown directly into the lake. Xiahou Yuan's voice sounded, and everyone would take the second round of tests. In the third round of tests, everyone will face the same illusion, and the winner will be determined by the time it takes to break through the illusion. Lin Moyu listened to it and muttered in his heart, I'm in the 4th round. He has gone through 3 rounds, this is the 4th round. But there is no way, the rules are set by others, and he can only abide by them. Lin Moyu took a deep breath. If that's the case, then let's have a good fight and see how I, the Heavenly Lord, can slap the faces of you heavenly prodigies. I don't know what the illusion is like. Just now I have decided to use myself as a bargaining chip. Only in this way can I have the qualifications to talk to Xiahou Yuan. In this case, I must perform well in the conference. Xiahou Yuan tapped his fingers lightly, and his avenue came down with a bang, and everyone saw a brand new world. The illusion came, and the scene in front of him changed instantly. Lin Moyu found himself standing on a city wall, and the 2 water balls in his hands had broken. The illusion seemed to act directly on the soul. The whole world was extremely real, and it was difficult to distinguish between the real world and the real world. A powerful Daozuan who cultivated the Soul Avenue wanted to create an illusion, how real it would be. This world in front of you, when you think it is real, it is real. Lin Moyu looked at this world, felt the power of the avenue in the world, and felt the power of illusion and reality coexisting. I don't know how many times Lin has dealt with illusions. Moyu, feeling a little weird. 893. The world he lives in, if you say it is an illusion, it is too real. If you say it is the real world, it is different from the real world. At least this is no longer the origin continent, and many avenues cannot be sensed. But the power of the origin of the sun still exists. Lin Moyu felt his own rule world, everything was normal, and there was no difference from the origin continent. It's just that the induction between him and the 3 avenues seemed to be a little weaker. It doesn't look like an illusion. This world is not between true and false. It looks like an illusion, but it's not an illusion. Lin Moyu suddenly had a flash of inspiration. This world is the rule world of Senior Xiahou. Lin Moyu suddenly realized that this is not an illusion at all, but the rule world of Xiahou Yuan. The so-called illusion is just a cover, deceiving people. Lin Moyu muttered to himself, since this is a world of rules, then there must be corresponding rules to break through the so-called illusion. I don't know, what are the rules here? I am on the city wall, surrounded by a large number of soldiers. These soldiers look dull and sluggish. Obviously, they are also evolved by Senior Xiaohu with his own power. With soldiers ready for battle and a large supply of weapons, it should be time for war. Lin Moyu's voice was not light, as if he was talking to himself. But he actually said so deliberately for Xiahou Yuan to hear. If this is really Xiahou Yuan's world of rules, Lin Moyu knows that Xiahou Yuan will definitely hear it. If he really guessed right and could see through the true situation of the illusion, he could increase his bargaining chips in Xiahou Yuan's place. Lin Moyu either doesn't do it, or he has to do it to the extreme. Just as Lin Moyu thought, when he said those words, the corners of Xiahou Yuan's mouth twitched twice. He was discovered. How did he discover it? When others thought it was an illusion, how did this guy find out that it was actually a world of rules? He is very vigilant and does not easily believe what others say, but judges according to his own ideas. He is very opinionated and smart, has good comprehension, strong heart of Taoism, and has seen some things that even I have never seen. How did this guy come out? He is simply a freak among freaks. An old fox like Xiahou Yuan, who has lived for countless years, can also analyze Lin Moyu's various information through Lin Moyu's words. Xiahou Yuan analyzed it and smiled, then let's see if you can break through my world of rules. In each of the illusions, everyone is in the same scene, with the same city and the same number of soldiers. The only difference is the realm. The realm of the soldiers on the city wall is the same as that of the Tianjiao. If the participants are Daozuan level 1, then the soldiers are also Daozuan level 1. The fairy lotus saint is Daozuan level 2, and the ugly soldier with her is also Daozuan level 2. Lin Moyu is a mid-level Tianzuan, and the soldiers around him are also mid-level Tianzuan. Xiahou Yuan's voice sounded again, break through the rules of the illusion, use all means to wipe out the enemy, regardless of casualties, regardless of cost. It is forbidden to use any magic weapons, elixirs, and other external objects. The rules are also very simple, just eliminate the enemy, no matter what method you use. If you have the strength, you can kill it alone and kill it happily. If you don't have the strength, you can also defend the city, wait for the enemy to attack, and then fight back. The soldiers on the city wall are your helpers. But magic weapons and elixirs are forbidden to use, and you can only kill the enemy with magic. In this way, your own experience is more important. After listening to the rules, Lin Moyu raised the corner of his mouth slightly. It's going to be a good show. This kind of rule is too favorable to me. In my own small world, many copies have similar rules, so Lin Moyu is not too familiar with them. And the small world demon army that I have killed before seems to be similar. If the opponent is not strong enough, the battle will end in an instant. Lin Moyu's micro-expression was seen by Xiahou Yuan, who frowned slightly. There is something wrong with this kid. But he couldn't tell what was wrong. Anyway, something was wrong. In the illusion, the enemy finally appeared. Thousands of miles away, the enemy formed a large army, pressing over like a dark cloud. Lin Moyu narrowed his eyes slightly, and his eyes swept over, and he had a clear understanding of the enemy's situation. The number of enemies was exactly 10,000. 9,000 of them were at a lower level than himself, at the lower level of Tianzuan. Among the remaining 1,000 enemies, 900 were at the same level as himself. Among the remaining 100 enemies, 99 were at a higher level than himself, reaching the high level of Tianzuan. The last one reached the peak of Tianzuan, the strongest one. On his side, the number of soldiers defending the city was exactly 1,000, which was 10 times less than that of the enemy. However, the realm was higher than that of most enemies, so it was reasonable to say that they could indeed hold on. As long as the participants were not too bad, counterkilling would not be a problem. After all, the participants were all Tianjiao, and as Tianjiao, they should have a certain ability to fight across levels. According to Lin, as far as Moyu knows, if Lu Fengyao's strength is fully unleashed, she can completely compete with the strong men of the second realm of Daozuan. The Saintess of Xinlian can also fight against the strong men of the third realm of Daozuan. Those Qinjiao ranked in the top 30 all have the ability to fight across realms. Lin Moyu said to himself, although the difference in strength between the small realms of Tianzuan realm is also large, it should be much better than Daozuan realm. The difference in strength between each realm and Daozuan realm is large. It is estimated that there will be no enemies who exceed their own realm. They should all rise and fall in the same realm, do 10 additions and subtractions. As long as those Qinjiao are not too weak, there should be no problem. It's just a matter of time. Xiao Yuan heard Lin Moyu's analysis again, and his mouth twitched. How did this guy guess it? Suddenly, his pupils shrank. What is he going to do? In the illusion, Lin Moyu rushed out of the city wall and rushed towards the enemy army thousands of miles away. Lin Moyu's action made Xiao Yuan frown slightly. Although Lin Moyu had just analyzed that the gap between each small realm and the Tianzuan realm is not as exaggerated as in the Daozuan realm. Moreover, among the 10,000 enemies, 9,000 of them are one realm lower than Lin Moyu. But no matter what, there are still 900 people in the same realm, 99 are one realm higher, and the strongest one has reached the peak of Tianzuan. Even if Lin Moyu has amazing combat power, it seems too arrogant to fight one against 10,000. Xiao Yuan was once a genius and once dominated an era, but he couldn't do it when he was Tianzuan. The correct approach should be to defend the city and use the power of the soldiers in the city to quickly eliminate the enemy. In Xiao Yuan's view, Lin Moyu's approach is not correct. Let's see what you can do. It's my rule world anyway, life safety is not a problem. Xiao Yuan was ready to watch the show and see how Lin Moyu would retreat. He never thought that Lin Moyu could win the battle. Lin Moyu crossed 1,000 miles at an astonishing speed and rushed towards the army. A deafening roar came from my ears, and a murderous intent came towards me. This was the murderous intent of the army, and it was also the murderous intent given by Xiao Yuan. This murderous intent alone was enough to defeat an ordinary mid-level Tianzuan. But for Lin Moyu, this level of murderous intent was simply a drizzle. A murderous intent far stronger than the army rushed out with a bang, and the whole world was shaken. Lin Moyu's murderous aura broke out of his body, like a demon that broke through the limit, gathering and wreaking havoc between heaven and earth. The murderous aura gathered into countless shapes, including demons, beasts, monsters, and races, all of which were creatures that Lin Moyu had killed before. After these creatures died, they became Lin Moyu's murderous aura, and the obsession could not be dissipated. Heaven-shattering slash. Lin Moyu shouted softly, and his fingers slashed through the air. A huge murderous knife appeared in the air and slashed down in the air. The heaven-shattering slash obtained from Gu Nianshui came from the secret method of the Horned Dragon Star-Lord, which can gather murderous aura and break out a shocking blow. The stronger the murderous aura, the greater the power of the heaven-shattering slash, and there is almost no upper limit. When the heaven-shattering slash came down, a big hole was torn open in the army on the spot, and a large number of enemies died on the spot. Xiao Yuan looked at this scene, and his mouth twitched. The heaven-shattering slash of the Horned Dragon Star-Lord, how can this kid? And how come this kid's murderous aura is stronger than that of the Horned Dragon Star-Lord? How many people did this guy kill? He recognized Lin Moyu's skybreaking slash, and also felt Lin Moyu's murderous aura, which was even stronger than that of the Horned Dragon Star-Lord. One skybreaking slash killed and injured at least nearly 100 low-level heavenly venerables and 3 high-level heavenly venerables. The power was indeed great, but it was still nothing to an army of 10,000 people. When Lin Moyu attacked, the enemies in the army also attacked Lin Moyu. Countless attacks came at Lin Moyu at the same time, and Lin Moyu did not dodge, and murderous aura rolled down. Golden light and flames flowed on his body, and his immortal golden body was shining. Lin Moyu turned into a golden fireman in an instant. Xiao Yuan exclaimed again, the immortal golden body. It turned out to be the immortal golden body. What is the relationship between him and the family in the past? The immortal golden body had long been lost and disappeared in the history of the origin continent. But I didn't expect that it would reappear now. Xiao Yuan was afraid that he had seen it wrong, but after looking at it again and again, it was the immortal golden body. How many secret points does this kid have? The skybreaking slash tore a gap and killed more than 100 enemies. A large number of enemies were turned into ashes in the murderous aura and disappeared without a trace. No corpse. If there is no corpse, we can only use another method. I hope it won't be too shocking. Lin Moyu sighed lightly. After all, this is a fake enemy evolved by the Great Tao, not real. Once there is a body, it is normal that there is no corpse. If there is a corpse, he can use the corpse explosion, and he can kill this enemy in 10 seconds at most. Now there is no corpse, only another method can be used. Lin Moyu did not use the undead army. The undead army is very likely to be regarded as a puppet foreign object, and he still needs to explain, which is too troublesome. With a light tap of his fingers, the space suddenly twisted, the red light enveloped the world, and countless flames and magma gushed out. The skeleton hell enveloped the enemy's army, and the evil spirits of hell were dormant in the magma and did not move. The eye of hell slowly opened, and the invisible soul impact swept across the field. Countless enemies died on the spot in an instant. At the current level of the skeleton hell, the soul impact of the eye of hell can almost kill all the heavenly venerables in seconds. Unless the heavenly venerable has a magic weapon to protect his soul, he will definitely die. These guys who were simulated and evolved could not stop the sweep of the eye of hell. It took only a few seconds before and after, and the army of 10,000 people was wiped out. Xiao Yuan was stunned on the spot. He was just moved before, but now he was shocked. Lin Moyu's movements were too fast. It only took a few seconds. Xiao Yuan murmured, "What kind of magic is this? How can there be such a terrible magic?" Lin Moyu is only a mid-level Tianzuan, but his magic can kill the powerful people in the upper Mingzhou realm in seconds. Now it is in his rule world. If it is placed in the real origin continent, the effect may be the same. This also means that in the battle of the same realm, the number of people is meaningless to Lin Moyu. And Lin Moyu has become invincible in the same realm with this magic. If this magic can become stronger with the realm, when Lin Moyu becomes a Daozuan, and then improves realm by realm, who can fight against him in the same realm? Xiao Yuan can't think about it anymore. He vaguely feels that an extremely terrible and invincible strong man is rising. Oh. Such a strong man should either be killed when he is insignificant or befriended and never become an enemy. Xiao Yuan knew what he should do. He gradually gave up the idea of accepting Lin Moyu as a disciple. He was not worthy of accepting such a person as a disciple. If he forcefully accepted a disciple, not only would it be of no benefit, but it would also be countered by luck. The third ancestor must know something, so he advised me like this. It seems that I really can't force it. Okay, it's just right to see what you are really like. Xiao Yuan felt that Lin Moyu still had some strength left, and he wanted to see where Lin Moyu's limit was. With a move in his heart, a force fell into the space where Lin Moyu was. The army of 10,000 enemies was destroyed, and Lin Moyu found that he was still in the illusion and did not leave. He said to himself, could it be that there are more than one group of enemies? Senior Xiao said to destroy all enemies, but did not say how many groups of enemies there were. In this case, let's continue. Lin Moyu didn't know that Xiao Yuan had added something to him. Anyway, as long as his realm was not too outrageous, it didn't matter. A dark cloud appeared in the sky, and the dark cloud turned into black air. In front of Lin Moyu, 10 powerful enemies appeared. The enemy had the cultivation of Daozun First Realm, but it was only the weakest Daozun First Realm. Xiao Yuan wanted to see Lin Moyu's true strength, but he couldn't go too far, so he used the weakest Shozun First Realm to test. In his opinion, even if Lin Moyu could fight across borders, 10 Dao Zun First Realms would be enough. Lin Moyu didn't care at all. The skeleton hell emerged and covered all 10 people. Xiao Yuan looked at Lin Moyu's magic and murmured, "It's still this magic. Is this kid going to master a magic? One trick to conquer the world is also a good choice, better than being good at everything." Suddenly, his pupils shrank and he was shocked again. What is it? How could it be the gate of hell? As the power of the skeleton hell was fully unfolded, the gate of hell was also revealed. If the killing of the 10,000-man army just now was just an appetizer, now these 10 Daozuan-level strongmen are the main course. The skeleton hell was fully fired, and the gate of hell appeared. Below the gate of hell was the magma waterfall and the dark pool of the underworld. Countless magma rushed into the sky, and a large number of hell evil spirits rushed out of the magma hell and instantly surrounded these evolved strongmen. The hell evil spirits were wearing flame armor and bit without caring. At this time, the power of the skeleton hell has been revealed to 70%. The red spider lily has not moved yet, nor has it dragged these Daozuan into the flames. Even the hell evil spirits have only sent out a few hundred, just a drop in the bucket. In Lin Moyu's opinion, this is enough. After all, it is only the Daozuan level, and the weakest in the Daozuan level, without even a magic weapon. Using such power is enough to look down on them. Lin Moyu retracted 3/10 of his strength, but Xiao Yuan was shocked. The shock he had received in thousands of years was not as great as the short 2 minutes just now. He kept muttering, the gate of hell appeared again. Didn't they say that hell has been destroyed? Why did the gate of hell appear again? Could it be that hell will revive again? Who are you? The look he gave Lin Moyu was completely different. Before, there was a little thought of accepting disciples, but now it is completely gone. He didn't think too much and immediately contacted the third ancestor. Third ancestor, I have some discoveries. The third ancestor's voice came, what's wrong? Xiao Yuan said, Lin Moyu can become an immortal golden body, and his magic has the gate to hell. The third ancestor fell silent, and after a long while he responded, don't tell anyone about this, maybe there will be a big secret in it. Xiao Yuan heard that the third ancestor's voice was serious and there was no intention of joking at all, and whispered, I understand, even if you let me go, I won't tell it. People at his level know some secrets that others don't know. He understands that some things can be said and some things cannot be said. Once said, it may bring about a fatal disaster. He is very strong, but not the strongest. Just the existences in Lin Moyu's memory are not comparable to him. Xiao Yuan thought for a while and said, Third ancestor, I think no matter who he is, we need to remind him. What he meant was that, no matter what, it would not hurt to show some goodwill and make friends with Lin Moyu. The third ancestor waited for a moment and said, you can try it. I'm already doing it here. Xiao Yuan understood what the third ancestor meant in a second. The third ancestor was indeed showing goodwill, but it was Lu Fengniao who was showing goodwill, otherwise Lin Moyu might not have been able to get the quota to come in this time. Xiao Yuan knew what was going on. He looked at the world of rules again and found that the 10 Dao masters he evolved had been eaten up without leaving any residue. Lin Moyu was waiting there, as if waiting for a result. Xiao Yuan's heart moved, and the power of the great Dao rolled. Lin Moyu only felt that the world in front of him was changing, and in the blink of an eye he had returned to the venue of the Tianjiao conference. Except for him and his followers, everyone else was still trapped in an illusion. The auras were rising, and it was obvious that they were all facing a big battle. Lin Moyu suddenly woke up, attracting a lot of attention again. Especially the Daozuan in the air formation, all their attention was focused on Lin Moyu. This part was not interesting, because the specific situation was only played out in each soul, and nothing could be seen from the outside. Why did he wake up again? Did he break through the illusion? Senior Xiao's illusion is not so easy to break through, and the enemies faced by each person are corresponding to their own strength, so the difficulty should be about the same. Could it be that this boy not only has a strong understanding and a firm heart, but also has amazing combat power? Crossing the border to kill people is like eating and drinking water. What a joke. I believe that the Tianjiao crossed the border to fight, just like eating and drinking water. How is it possible? Although the Tianjiao is strong, it is not to the point of saying that crossing the border to kill people is like eating and drinking water. That would be too exaggerated. But Lin Moyu did get through the illusion. It took only 2 or 3 minutes from the beginning of the illusion to now. The speed was so fast that it was unimaginable. As for whether Xiahou Yuan would let him go, no Taoist master had such an idea. Xiahou Yuan was famous for being ruthless. Even if he knew Lin Moyu, it was impossible. At this time, Lin Moyu heard Xiahou Yuan's voice. "Lin Moyu, come up." Lin Moyu naturally flew over and came to Xiahou Yuan, saluted respectfully. "Meet Senior Xiahou." Xiahou Yuan nodded slightly. "Do you know what a ring test is?" No matter what he thought of Lin Moyu in his heart, on the surface, Xiahou Yuan still maintained the appearance of a senior. Lin Moyu said, "Dao Xin and fighting power." Xiahou Yuan nodded slightly. "Most of it is right, but not all." Lin Moyu was very polite. "I am ignorant, please teach me." Xiahou Yuan said, "This round only tests Dao Xin. Even in the last round of illusion, as long as your Dao Xin is firm enough, you will only win and not lose. You didn't experience it because you fought too fast. If you can continue to fight, you will find that your strength and the enemy's strength will fluctuate according to the changes in Dao Xin." Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. "So that's it." Xiahou Yuan said, "So, killing too fast is not necessarily a good thing. You will miss some experiences." Lin Moyu smiled and didn't answer. Xiahou Yuan said, "Should I send you back to experience it again?" Lin Moyu thought about it and shook his head slowly. "I have confidence in my Dao heart, so I don't need to experience it." Xiahou Yuan did not force it, but 1.4 said, "They still need some time. Are you willing to chat with me when you are bored?" Lin Moyu naturally wanted it. "It is my honor to chat with you, senior." "I don't know what you want to talk about." Xiahou Yuan said, "Whatever you want to talk about." Lin Moyu was not polite and immediately said, "I would like to ask, your avenue is the Soul Avenue?" Xiahou Yuan nodded. "Yes, it is the Soul Avenue. This is not a secret, too many people know it." Lin Moyu said, "I have something to ask you tonight." Xiahou Yuan said, "Don't be so polite, tell me, if I can help, I will do my best to help." Seeing that Lin Moyu had something to ask, Xiahou Yuan also seized the opportunity at the same time. Just like what he said, we must help those who can be helped, and find ways to help those who cannot be helped. Lin Moyu said, "When I was a nobody, I met a good friend whose race was created by a celestial master who practiced the great way of souls in his rule world. Luckily, this celestial master of mine once had a special mission, and later she sacrificed herself to help me. I once promised her that I would help her restore her race, but unfortunately I never found the celestial master who created her." After listening to Lin Moyu's story, Xiahou Yuan said, "What items will you leave behind?" Xiahou Yuan was very familiar with creating creatures in the rule world, and he had done it many times before. This is an experience that is inevitable when practicing the soul path. It is also known that those created races are not creatures in the pure sense, and need some items as carriers. Lin Moyu took out the Tianling crystal left by Lilian, and there was still a trace of soul fluctuation in the Tianling crystal. At that time, he kept a trace of Lilian's soul in it, thinking in his heart that if he could not find the Soul Lord, he would use the resurrection of the dead to resurrect Lilian in the future. Of course, that requires the resurrection of the dead to undergo a qualitative change and no longer have a time limit, otherwise it would be better for 02 not to resurrect. Xiahou Yuan took the Tianling crystal and felt it carefully. After a moment, he whispered, "You left a trace of her soul, and you also left a ray of hope. The person who tied the bell must untie it. The best way is to find the Tianzuan who created her. Her soul and this item both have the other party's mark. If an outsider intervenes, it will be very troublesome." Lin Moyu said, to be honest, I am from the world of Jehai, and that Soul Lord also left the world of Jehai and went to the origin continent. I have been separated from him for too long, and I don't know whether he has come to the origin continent, where he is, and whether he is alive or dead. If you want to find him, unless there is a great opportunity, it will be difficult. Lin Moyu really wanted to find Soul Lord, but later, according to the information he got, it was difficult to find him. If Soul Lord is already dead, there is no way to find him. Xiahou Yuan thought about it. How about this? I will think of a way to see if I can revive him. Do you want her to return to her original state, or do you hope that she can become a real living being? Lin Moyu was overjoyed. Of course, I want to become a real living being. Okay. Xiahou Yuan agreed very straightforwardly. Lin Moyu asked, what is the price? Please tell me, I will try my best to pay it. Xiahou Yuan said, let's talk about it after it's done. I'm not afraid that you will default on the debt. Lin Moyu didn't expect Xiahou Yuan to be so easy to talk to. All his previous little thoughts seemed to be in vain. But it's hard to say if he didn't show it deliberately. If he didn't show it deliberately, Xiahou Yuan might not be so easy to talk to. Xiahou Yuan said, if you are fine, it's my turn to ask some questions. Lin Moyu nodded immediately. Senior, please tell me, I will tell you everything I know. Xiahou Yuan said, have you ever seen many extremely powerful people? Lin Moyu realized who Xiahou Yuan was asking. There was a senior who showed me some pictures. Under Xiahou Yuan's curious eyes, Lin Moyu continued, that senior rode a green cow and wore a green robe. Xiahou Yuan's face suddenly changed, and he shouted hurriedly, stop, stop, stop talking. With his status, he obviously knew who Lin Moyu was talking about. Lin Moyu said, Senior, don't listen to anything else. Xiahou Yuan took a deep breath. Okay, speak slowly. Lin Moyu said, there is a gourd that leaks everywhere, and it is the ancestral water. There is an old senior in an old robe. Stop, stop. Xiahou Yuan decisively stopped, and he looked at Lin Moyu strangely, as if to say, what kind of monsters are you seeing? Lin Moyu said, then I'll change another one. There was once a big bird called the source bird. Stop, stop, stop. Xiahou Yuan stopped again. He said helplessly, okay, stop talking, I can't listen to what you said. Can't listen? I don't dare to listen. Lin Moyu knew very well that the higher the realm of these old seniors, the smaller their courage would be. Because the more they know, the more afraid they are. They don't want to die, so they naturally become less courageous. Xiahou Yuan exhaled. Well, let me change the question. Where did you get your immortal golden body? Lin Moyu said, in the small world of the sea where I am, a mysterious person once appeared. The immortal golden body was left to me by her, but now she is gone. Xiahou Yuan asked curiously, dead? Lin Moyu shook his head. Maybe dead, maybe still alive, I'm not sure. Xiahou Yuan said, do you know anything about the immortal golden body? Lin Moyu shook his head to indicate that he didn't know. Xiahou Yuan said, after the Tianjiao conference is over, you go to Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, they should sell it to you. Next question, why is there a hell gate in your magic? Lin Moyu said, my magic is called Skeleton Hell. After I came to Dongzhou, I had an adventure. I merged a piece of hell fragment. Mafali has the earth gate. Xiahou Yuan frowned. It turned out to be like this. You can actually merge hell fragments. When hell was broken, the legend that hell fragments fell into the origin continent seems to be true. Your chance is really not shallow. Xiahou Yuan's words were very conservative. He could encounter the fragments of hell and survive, and merge his own magic with the fragments of hell. You can imagine how dangerous this process is. It's not just a chance, it's a chance against the sky. From this, we can see how bad Lin Moyu's luck is. Any chance requires strong luck support. If 663 has no luck and encounters the fragments of hell, it is not a chance, but a killing situation. Xiahou Yuan feels that there are too many secrets in Lin Moyu. Even with his strength, he dare not ask any more. Now that even the fragments of hell have come out, he is afraid that if he asks more, he will ask more shocking information. He stopped. I'm done asking. If you have any questions, you can continue to ask. Lin Moyu thought about it and asked some questions about cultivation. Xiahou Yuan also answered them, without hiding anything. The two chatted, like old friends, talking nonstop. They could only see the two talking, but could not hear the content of their conversation. The denizens in the sky were surprised. They all knew that Xiahou Yuan usually spoke very little, and with his status and position, there were not many people who could talk to him on an equal footing. Unexpectedly, Xiahou Yuan could chat so happily with a Tianzuan, which completely overturned their impression of Xiahou Yuan. What happened to Senior Xiahou today? I don't know. Senior Xiahou usually speaks very little. It's so strange today. Don't be surprised. Senior Xiahou speaks little because he is generally not worthy of talking to him. Then how do you explain it now? Maybe his identity is special. Special? How special are capable people? God knows, you go ask Xiahou Qian. I won't go, that's asking for a fight. After the two chatted for a long time, someone finally broke through the illusion. Lu Fengyao suddenly opened her eyes, and the breath of the Dao Zun realm rose to the sky. A fantasy, for her, is a test. She experienced an unforgettable battle in the fantasy. Everything in the fantasy is the same as the real world, and this battle is the same as in the real world. She was injured in the fantasy, and the injury was serious, and she almost died. However, with her firm Dao heart, she finally persisted to the end and won the final victory. Lu Fengyao did not find that with her persistence, her strength in the fantasy continued to rise, while the enemy's strength was declining. She only knew that she could not lose, absolutely not. Her Dao heart became stronger and stronger, and now her Dao heart was like a sharp sword. Whoever dared to shake her Dao heart would be injured by the sword. Making the Dao heart stronger is the reward of this link. The realm is easy to cultivate, but the Dao heart is difficult to cultivate. There is no better reward than this. Unfortunately, Lin Moyu didn't have the blessing to enjoy it. Xiahou Yuan said, Fengyao girl has good comprehension. From the perspective of talent alone, she is even better than the fairy lotus saint. Lin Moyu agreed with Xiahou Yuan's words and flattered him. Senior is right. I feel that Sister Fengyao's future achievements will be amazing. In the previous round, Lu Fengyao lost in realm. In this round, Lu Fengyao did not compare realms, and she overtook. However, the final results have not yet come out. In the previous test of the inner demon, the fairy lotus saint still had some advantages. Xiahou Yuan sent a voice message to Lu Fengyao, take a rest for a while and wait for others. Lu Fengyao hummed, looked up, and saw Lin Moyu. She squinted her beautiful eyes and looked at Lin Moyu, as if asking, why are you up there? Lin Moyu answered with her eyes, Senior Xiahou asked me to come up. Lu Fengyao retracted her gaze, which was considered to be in agreement with Lin Moyu's answer. Xiahou Yuan said, it's almost done. They will all wake up one by one and either succeed or fail, and this round of the test is over. Do you know what the next round is about? Lin Moyu shook his head, not sure. Xiahou Yuan said, we have already compared our understanding and Dao heart, so the next round of the test is naturally actual combat. Your realm is a bit disadvantaged in the next round, so you decide whether to participate. But even if you want to participate, don't use the previous magic and immortal body again. It doesn't matter if you lose, there are some things that should be concealed. Those guys are very narrow-minded. Xiahou Yuan was not referring to the Dao Masters on the formation, but the old guys and the forces behind the Dao Masters. If Lin Moyu performs too well, those old guys might take action. They have done things that strangle geniuses. Of course, they are all very careful and will not let people catch them. After all, there are big forces behind the Tianjiao, and not everyone can move them. However, Lin Moyu doesn't seem to have any big power behind him, so they won't have any concerns. Lin Moyu naturally understood Xiao Yuan's kindness. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. I understand. The previous brilliant performance was just to increase the bargaining chips against Xiao Yuan. Now that Xiao Yuan has agreed to Lilian's matter, there is no need to continue to perform like this. Hiding one's weaknesses is not a bad thing. Just like when you hit someone, you have to pull back your fist before you hit it out to make it count. The performance in the previous 2 rounds is enough. Let's be more restrained in the future. After this round, I guess we will have to re-rank. I wonder where he will be ranked. I guess he won't be too bad, but he won't be too good either. After all, I'm just a heavenly venerable. The level of realm is also an important consideration for the ranking. Lin Moyu returned to his seat and waited for the end of this round. More and more Qingjiao broke through the illusion, some succeeded and some failed. Most of the top rankings ended successfully, even if the process was not perfect, at least it proved that their Tao heart was strong. And those who failed could only say that their Tao heart was not hot enough to activate the mechanism set by Xiao Yuan. In Xiao Yuan's eyes, this illusion test should not have the possibility of failure. Except Lin Moyu, the Fairy Lotus Saint is the second one to break through the illusion after Lu Fengyao. When she saw that Lu Fengyao broke through the illusion one step ahead of her, she showed a hint of disappointment in her expression, and at the same time, she had a strong desire to win. As for Lin Moyu, she seemed to be ignored by her. She no longer regarded Lin Moyu as a normal person. Look at Lin Moyu's eyes were like looking at a monster. Lin Moyu thought to himself, what kind of eyes does this woman have? Except for the immortal Lotus Saint, the people in the top 10 looked at Lin Moyu with similar eyes when they found that Lin Moyu was faster than them. Basically, they regarded Lin Moyu as a monster. Xiao Yuan sent a message to the third ancestor. Third ancestor, did you hear what I said just now? The third ancestor's voice sounded, I heard it all. Just as I guessed, those he encountered were all unimaginable existences. So you can think about why he can meet those beings that we dare not meet even if we want to. Is there any special reason? Xiao Yuan was slightly surprised. You mean, those beings are cultivating him? The third ancestor continued, I have seen him before, and I felt a very ancient sword energy from him. Later, through intelligence analysis, this sword energy should come from the Jade Sword of the Jade Sword City in Nanzhou. More than 100 years ago, a disaster of not small or small occurred in the Jade Sword City. An indescribable existence descended with a trace of aura, almost raising the entire Jade Sword City to the ground. Even the Jade Sword, which has stood for countless years, has a lot of cracks and almost collapsed. The more the third ancestor said, the more Xiao Yuan was shocked. He smiled bitterly, Third ancestor, please don't scare me anymore. If you continue, I'm afraid my heart will collapse. The third ancestor chuckled, how can you be so timid at such an old age, Li Didi? Think about it the other way around. Since those beings want to train him, but they don't show up, what does that mean? Xiao Yuan thought about it and murmured, it means that those beings don't want to interfere with his growth trajectory. The third ancestor laughed, you are smart, I do think so. Obviously, those beings don't want to interfere with him too much, they just show up occasionally to make themselves familiar. Then you know what to do. Xiao Yuan nodded, I understand, thank you for the third ancestor's advice. The third ancestor smiled, we have known each other for so many years, there is no need to be so polite. While you can still act on your own outside, you should make some preparations. Don't wait until one day like me, occasionally wanting to go out, and have to take care of this and that. Xiao Yuan was silent for a long time, okay, I will prepare, and I will inevitably trouble you then. The third ancestor said, if you have anything to do, find Lu Lian, she will do everything you want. After the second round, everyone's seats were rearranged again. In the second round of the test, except for Lin Moyu, Lu Fengyao got the first place, followed by the Fairy Lotus Saint, and the Son of Heavenly Illusion and Dongfang Wuwen switched their rankings, ranking third and fourth respectively. The rankings of the rest of the people changed slightly, but generally speaking, the difference was not big. Rays of light shone down, covering each Tianjiao and the followers behind him. Lin Moyu was surprised to find that there was no light on him. This meant that his ranking did not need to be changed. Lin Moyu understood Xiahou Yuan's meaning, which was to make him low-key and not too aggressive. Letting himself participate in the Tianjiao conference is already a big show. In the history of the Tianjiao conference, no Tianzuan has ever been able to compete with Tianzuan. There are not no amazing Tianzins in history, and there are also Tianzins who can compete with Daozuan. There are even many cases of Tianzuan beating Daozuan. But those Tianzins are all peak Tianzins. Moreover, the Daozuan who was killed was the weakest Daozuan, not the Tianjiao here. If we talk about combat power, these Tianjiao present are all the best among the Tianzins of the same realm. When they were at the peak of Tianzu, they had the strength to kill 957 ordinary Daozuan. Lin Moyu, as a mid-level Tianzuan, was able to compete with them on the same stage, which was a historical precedent and an extremely heaven-defying thing. In Xiahou Yuan's view, this was completely enough, even too much. Fortunately, what was shown now was only the understanding and Dao heart, which can only represent the future, not the present. In the future, Lin Moyu can become a top powerhouse, and now has a heaven-defying combat power, which are two completely different concepts. If Lin Moyu performs too strongly in actual combat, it will definitely attract the jealousy of those old guys, and even attack and kill. Lin Moyu knows very well what he should do next. Hide your weakness, but don't be too weak. Even if you want to lose on purpose, you have to lose beautifully, otherwise it will make people feel fake. Lin Moyu was thinking about how to play, so that he could hide his weakness and not let people suspect him. The beams changed, and everyone's positions were rearranged. There were some small changes in the top 10 positions. The Fairy Lotus Saint remained in the first place without change, and Dongfang Wuwen was still in the second place. The two of them firmly occupied the top 2 positions, and their positions were difficult to shake. But the third place position changed. Originally, Wang Tianling was sitting on the second left. Wang Tianling was the direct descendant of the Akak of the Three Spirit sect, the title of the young master of the Masterly sect. But in the conference, Wang Tianling's performance was always mediocre, not good nor bad. Now his position was replaced by the Son of Heavenly Illusion, and he dropped to the second from the right, ranking 4th. With his excellent performance, the Son of Heavenly Illusion came to the second from the left and entered the top 3, one step closer to being called the strongest genius. But everyone knows that it will be very difficult for him to defeat the Fairy Lotus Saint and Dongfang Wuwen in the end. From the 5th to the 9th place, there is no change in the ranking, and it remains the same. Until the 10th place, which is the 5th from the right, there is another change. Lu Fengyao moved from the 6th from the left to the 5th from the right, and her overall ranking improved by 1 place, from the top 11 to the top 10. Although it was only a small improvement, it was a huge change for Lu Fengyao. The top 10 are all Tianjiao of the second realm of Daozun, and she is the only one in the first realm of Daozun. Although her appearance is not as shocking as Lin Moyu's participation in the Tianjiao conference, it is enough to attract the attention of countless people. Lu Fengyao participated in the Tianjiao conference for the first time, and she squeezed into the top 10 with the cultivation of the first realm of Daozun, which is extremely powerful. As long as this momentum can be maintained, the title of the strongest Tianjiao in the next Tianjiao conference will most likely be won by Lu Fengyao. As the successor of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, Lu Fengyao has also proved his talent. Lin Moyu looked at the change in ranking and noticed Wang Tianling's expression. His eyes were calm, and he was not upset at all for falling from 3rd to 4th. Wang Tianling has been very low-key from the beginning. In Lu Fengyao's introduction before, he was such a low-key existence. In the last conference, he was also like this, not showing off, and finally got 4th place. At the beginning of this conference, he ranked 3rd. Although he has dropped to 4th now, his expression has not changed. It seems that he does not value his ranking. But the more so, the more Lin Moyu thinks this person is not simple. When a person can take victory and defeat lightly, in fact, This person has begun to transcend at a certain level. After the position change, Xiao Yuan's voice sounded, "The third round, show off." In the first round, those who are ranked after the 10th place will play against the players of their corresponding positions in the left and right divisions. The winner will stay and the loser will be eliminated. The rules are still very simple. Those who are ranked after the 10th place will play against the left and right players. For example, the left 7 versus the right 7, because 2 versus the right 2 kings. The winner stays, and the loser is eliminated directly. Those with similar rankings are generally equal in strength. It can be imagined that the battle will be very exciting. As for the top 10, they are seeded players and do not need to participate in the competition at the beginning. Their competition should be left to the end. The only exception is Lin Moyu, who is ranked 101 and has no opponents at all. After listening to the rules, many people looked at Lin Moyu, wondering how Lin Moyu would be arranged. Xiao Yuan pointed at Lin Moyu. He will not participate in the ranking of this round of competition. After the competition, everyone can challenge him, and he will choose 10 people to compete. Xiao Yuan arranged this way so that Lin Moyu could stay away from the ranking of the Tianjiao conference while participating in it. With this arrangement, Lin Moyu naturally understood Xiao Yuan's intention, which coincided with his own idea. You can't be too weak or too strong. You have to be moderate. Lin Moyu has to grasp this degree by himself. The selected person is very important. He can't be too weak or too strong. The magic that can be used is also particular. Lin Moyu thinks that he can watch other people's fights before making a decision. The rules are announced, and a light curtain rises on the lake, connecting with the formation in the sky. The lake is the bottom, forming an arena. The space in the arena is distorted, and the internal space is expanded, enough for the geniuses to show their skills and fight to their heart's content. Then 2 more lights shone down from the sky, falling on the left 50 and right 50 geniuses respectively. The 2 were instantly teleported into the arena. The 4 looked at each other, and the 2 saluted slightly with fists. Without too much nonsense, the battle started directly. The 2 showed their magic, the space roared, and the avenue was revealed. The magic collided wantonly in the arena, and the 2 showed their full strength and fought extremely hard. Hot. One of them comprehended the great Tao of water, and the other one comprehended the great Tao of wind. Feng Shui intersected, forming a tornado storm, which raged wildly in the ring. The light curtain formation of the ring was extremely solid, and no matter how they fought, it was motionless. The 2 were of similar rank and strength, and the more so, the more intense and exciting the fight was. It was exciting for outsiders, especially those followers, who were dazzled by it. As a heavenly venerable, it was a rare opportunity to watch the Tao venerable fight with all his strength at such a close distance, and he was not in danger of his life. They came here to watch the fight, and they could often comprehend a lot of useful things from the fight of the Tao venerable. After the second round, everyone's seats were rearranged again. In the second round of the test, except for Lin Moyu, Lu Fengyao got the first place, followed by the Fairy Lotus Saint, and the Son of Heavenly Illusion and Dongfang Wuwen switched their rankings, ranking 3rd and 4th respectively. The rankings of the rest of the people changed slightly, but generally speaking, the difference was not big. Rays of light shone down, covering each Tianjiao and the followers behind him. Lin Moyu was surprised to find that there was no light on him. This meant that his ranking did not need to be changed. Lin Moyu understood Xiao Yuan's meaning, which was to make him low-key and not too aggressive. Letting himself participate in the Tianjiao conference is already a big show. In the history of the Tianjiao conference, no Tianzuan has ever been able to compete with Tianzuan. There are not no amazing Tianzans in history, and there are also Tianzans who can compete with Daozuan. There are even many cases of Tianzuan beating Daozuan. But those Tianzans are all peak Tianzans. Moreover, the Daozuan who was killed was the weakest Daozuan, not the Tianjiao here. If we talk about combat power, these Tianjiao present are all the best among the Tianzans of the same realm. When they were at the peak of Tianzu, they had the strength to kill 957 ordinary Daozuan. Lin Moyu, as a mid-level Tianzuan, was able to compete with them on the same stage, which was a historical precedent and an extremely heaven-defying thing. In Xiahou Yuan's view, this was completely enough, even too much. Fortunately, what was shown now was only the understanding and Dao heart, which can only represent the future, not the present. In the future, Lin Moyu can become a top powerhouse, and now has a heaven-defying combat power, which are two completely different concepts. If Lin Moyu performs too strongly in actual combat, it will definitely attract the jealousy of those old guys, and even attack and kill. Lin Moyu knows very well what he should do next. Hide your weakness, but don't be too weak. Even if you want to lose on purpose, you have to lose beautifully, otherwise it will make people feel fake. Lin Moyu was thinking about how to play, so that he could hide his weakness and not let people suspect him. The beams changed, and everyone's positions were rearranged. There were some small changes in the top 10 positions. The Fairy Lotus Saint remained in the first place without change, and Dongfang Wuwen was still in the second place. The two of them firmly occupied the top 2 positions, and their positions were difficult to shake. But the third place position changed. Originally, Wang Tianling was sitting on the second left. Wang Tianling was the direct descendant of the Akak of the Three Spirit sect, the title of the young master of the Masterly sect. But in the conference, Wang Tianling's performance was always mediocre, not good nor bad. Now his position was replaced by the Son of Heavenly Illusion, and he dropped to the second from the right, ranking 4th. With his excellent performance, the Son of Heavenly Illusion came to the second from the left and entered the top 3, one step closer to being called the strongest genius. But everyone knows that it will be very difficult for him to defeat the Fairy Lotus Saint and Dongfang Wuwen in the end. From the 5th to the 9th place, there is no change in the ranking, and it remains the same. Until the 10th place, which is the 5th from the right, there is another change. Lu Fengyao moved from the 6th from the left to the 5th from the right, and her overall ranking improved by 1 place, from the top 11 to the top 10. Although it was only a small improvement, it was a huge change for Lu Fengyao. The top 10 are all Qinjiao of the second realm of Daozun, and she is the only one in the first realm of Daozun. Although her appearance is not as shocking as Lin Moyu's participation in the Qinjiao conference, it is enough to attract the attention of countless people. Lu Fengyao participated in the Tianjiao conference for the first time, and she squeezed into the top 10 with the cultivation of the first realm of Daozun, which is extremely powerful. As long as this momentum can be maintained, the title of the strongest Tianjiao in the next Tianjiao conference will most likely be won by Lu Fengyao. As the successor of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, Lu Fengyao has also proved his talent. Lin Moyu looked at the change in ranking and noticed Wang Tianling's expression. His eyes were calm, and he was not upset at all for falling from 3rd to 4th. Wang Tianling has been very low-key from the beginning. In Lu Fengyao's introduction before, he was such a low-key existence. In the last conference, he was also like this, not showing off, and finally got 4th place. At the beginning of this conference, he ranked 3rd. Although he has dropped to 4th now, his expression has not changed. It seems that he does not value his ranking. But the more so, the more Lin Moyu thinks this person is not simple. When a person can take victory and defeat lightly, in fact, this person has begun to transcend at a certain level. After the position change, Xiahou Yuan's voice sounded, "The 3rd round, show off." In the first round, those who are ranked after the 10th place will play against the players of their corresponding positions in the left and right divisions. The winner will stay and the loser will be eliminated. The rules are still very simple. Those who are ranked after the 10th place will play against the left and right players. For example, the left 7 versus the right 7, because 2 versus the right 2 kings. The winner stays, and the loser is eliminated directly. Those with similar rankings are generally equal in strength. It can be imagined that the battle will be very exciting. As for the top 10, they are seeded players and do not need to participate in the competition at the beginning. Their competition should be left to the end. The only exception is Lin Moyu, who is ranked 101 and has no opponents at all. After listening to the rules, many people looked at Lin Moyu, wondering how Lin Moyu would be arranged. Xiao Yuan pointed at Lin Moyu. He will not participate in the ranking of this round of competition. After the competition, everyone can challenge him, and he will choose 10 people to compete. Xiao Yuan arranged this way so that Lin Moyu could stay away from the ranking of the Tianjiao conference while participating in it. With this arrangement, Lin Moyu naturally understood Xiao Yuan's intention, which coincided with his own idea. You can't be too weak or too strong. You have to be moderate. Lin Moyu has to grasp this degree by himself. The selected person is very important. He can't be too weak or too strong. The magic that can be used is also particular. Lin Moyu thinks that he can watch other people's fights before making a decision. The rules are announced, and a light curtain rises on the lake, connecting with the formation in the sky. The lake is the bottom, forming an arena. The space in the arena is distorted, and the internal space is expanded, enough for the geniuses to show their skills and fight to their heart's content. Then 2 more lights shone down from the sky, falling on the left 50 and right 50 geniuses respectively. The 2 were instantly teleported into the arena. The 4 looked at each other, and the 2 saluted slightly with fists. Without too much nonsense, the battle started directly. The 2 showed their magic, the space roared, and the avenue was revealed. The magic collided wantonly in the arena, and the 2 showed their full strength and fought extremely hard. Hot. One of them comprehended the great Tao of water, and the other one comprehended the great Tao of wind. Feng Shui intersected, forming a tornado storm, which raged wildly in the ring. The light curtain formation of the ring was extremely solid, and no matter how they fought, it was motionless. The 2 were of similar rank and strength, and the more so, the more intense and exciting the fight was. It was exciting for outsiders, especially those followers, who were dazzled by it. As a heavenly venerable, it was a rare opportunity to watch the Tao venerable fight with all his strength at such a close distance, and he was not in danger of his life. They came here to watch the fight, and they could often comprehend a lot of useful things from the fight of the Tao venerable. Lin Moyu looked at the fight, a little bored. Although the Tianjiao were all very strong, they were the best in their own realm. But no matter how strong they were only at the first level of Dao Zun. For Lin Moyu, he had seen too many Dao Zun and eliminated many of them. This level of battle really couldn't interest him. But Lin Moyu was still watching, hoping to see some bright scenes. His performance was seen by Xiao Yuan. Sure enough, the Tianjiao of the first level of Dao Zun is nothing in his eyes. Xiao Yuan felt that if Lin Moyu wanted to kill these Tianjiao of the first level of Dao Zun, it shouldn't be difficult. He couldn't figure out the upper limit of Lin Moyu's strength for a while. Since Lin Moyu was favored by those beings, it was obvious that Lin Moyu's strength was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Perhaps, his real combat power is much higher than imagined. After several minutes of the first battle, the winner was finally decided. In the end, Zhuo Wusher's Tianjiao was slightly better, winning by 1 move or 2. The 2 were teleported back to their seats, and the light falling on them changed. The winner was still covered by the light, while the light on the loser disappeared. The loss of light meant that he was eliminated and lost the qualification to continue the challenge. However, these Tianjios who ranked lower also knew that they came here to accompany the runner-up. The real protagonists were not them, they regarded the Tianjiao conference more as an experience. No matter which Tianjiao conference, the real glory belongs only to the top 10. And the top 10 are basically from the 9 top forces in Nanzhou, plus the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce in the mall. It is difficult for other forces to squeeze in, which is also from this indirectly proves the strength of the 9 top forces. This time is also the case. The only prodigy who does not belong to the 9 top forces was eventually squeezed out by Lu Fengyao. The top 10 still belongs to them. The seats in the top 10 are difficult to shake, just like the already formed pattern of Nanzhou, which is difficult to change. Fight after fight, all the prodigies on the field show their best. In a short period of time, it is the moment when they burst into dazzling light. They are not only showing themselves, but also proving themselves. They are prodigies. Although their backgrounds are good or bad, their talents are unquestionable. Who knows who will achieve higher and lower achievements in the future? Not as good as you now does not mean that they will not be as good as you in the future. Even when facing the prodigies of those top forces, they dare to call them out to see who can go further in the future. Lin Moyu watched the fights one by one and found that most of the results of the fights were the same as the rankings, but there were occasional surprises. After the start of the conference, Dao Xinhan changed the rankings twice according to everyone's understanding. In fact, the strength of each party has been basically determined, and the gap between the two adjacent positions is very small. After the challenge is over, someone will definitely challenge me, so which one should I choose? Lin Moyu pondered, who was more suitable for him. 90 people, 45 fights, after a whole day, finally ended. All the eliminated lost the light and became dim. Some people showed annoyance on their faces, and even a little unwilling. However, most of the Tianjiao, the Tao heart is still firm, and will not be hit by a small failure. They have their own ambitions for the future, and failure will only be a stepping stone for their success. Among the 45 battles, only the last battle made Lin Moyu a little interested. This duel was between Yi Xian from Jiuetian sect and Fei Yun from Yunqiao City. Yi Xian was originally ranked 10th, but was later squeezed down by Lu Fengyao and moved to the 6th left, ranking 11th. He was also the only Tianqiao in the second realm of Daozun in this round. This battle was almost a crushing victory, and Yi Xian completely suppressed Fei Yun. If Yi Xian had not shown mercy, Fei Yun would have been in a very bad state. After the duel, Fei Yun also saluted Yi Xian to express his gratitude. The Tianjiaos do have the strength to fight across borders, but that also depends on who the opponent is. If the opponent is also a Tianjiao, there is no question of fighting across borders. Lin Moyu watched the duel and found that the magic skills performed by Yi Xian were magnificent and showed an unusual momentum, which was different from the magic skills of Jiuetian sect he knew. This Yi Xian should have had another adventure and obtained an extraordinary inheritance. Lin Moyu thought in his heart, and he felt that his judgment was 9 out of 10 correct. With the end of the fight between Yi Xian and Fei Yun, the first round of 45 fights also ended. The 45 winners of the first round will fight in the second round. The second round will still be a 2-on-2 fight according to the most recent ranking. Because it is an odd number, Yi Xian, who has the highest ranking, will be directly given a bye and will be given a bye twice. 0. The remaining 44 people will continue to fight. 22 people will win the second round, and then the third round will begin. The third round will continue with the 22 people fighting, and 11 people will be selected. In the fourth round, Yi Xian will join in, and a total of 12 people will fight, and 6 people will win in the end. These 6 people will form the top 16 with the top 10. The fifth round will start, which will be the exciting part of this conference. The 16 people will fight in pairs to determine the top 8, the top 4, and even the final champion. Finally, Lu Lian will calculate and decide who can get the title of the strongest genius through the achievements of each person. The whole process is very fair. The Tianjiao conference has been held countless times, and no one has ever doubted its fairness. The title of the strongest genius can convince people. 0. Lin Moyu looked at the fights one by one, frowning slightly. I seem to feel the flow of luck. He secretly used the explosive luck technique. Although the explosive luck technique cannot check the luck, it can see everyone's luck. If the luck drops, the luck will also drop. He found that the luck of these losers was less than 50 for each person. And the luck values of those who won were basically above 60. The luck of the 2 people fighting in the ring happened to be 61. After observing for a while, when the fight was over, the 2 people decided the winner. At this moment, the luck value changed. The winner's luck reached 68, while the loser's luck dropped directly to 48. This shows that the winner's luck increased and the loser's luck weakened accordingly. Part of the loser's luck goes to the winner. Then the luck keeps accumulating, and finally all the added luck will be concentrated on the final winner. The luck obtained by the strongest prodigy comes from every prodigy here. Every prodigy contributes part of their luck, like a trickle of streams converging into a river, and is given to the strongest prodigy. The luck of the prodigy is originally stronger than that of ordinary practitioners. Although the luck of each prodigy is not much, when added together, the amount is somewhat amazing. At least in the future, the one who gets the title of the strongest prodigy will have smooth cultivation and even many adventures. If it is only for speeding up cultivation, the title of the strongest prodigy is actually not very useful, so what is the purpose? Xiao Yuan looked at Lin Moyu. What on earth is the little guy thinking about? He nods and shakes his head, and doesn't even watch the fight. Lin Moyu's behavior at this moment is a bit strange. He closes his eyes and thinks, as if he has no interest in the fight anymore, and he doesn't know what he is thinking. Lin Moyu guessed through his own analysis that the title of the strongest genius has gained a lot of luck, and there must be other purposes. As for what the purpose is, he can't guess it. However, Lin Moyu has some interest in the Genius Conference, what is hidden behind it. Moreover, the Genius Conference has been held so many times, and each time it is held in the mall, and the place has not even changed, which is also weird. The weirder it is, the bigger the secret hidden behind it, and this secret is related to the mall. If there is no secret, the Genius Conference can be held in Nanzhou, which is safer. Dongzhou was originally a place of right and wrong 550, not only facing other races, but also facing the Dongling Empire in the dark. Such an unsafe place is actually not suitable for holding a Genius Conference. Lin Moyu thought for a long time, but still couldn't guess the secret behind the conference. He glanced at Xiao Yuan. In fact, he could ask directly. Xiao Yuan would definitely know. But after thinking about it, Momo decided not to ask. What belongs to me is mine, and what doesn't belong to me, there is no need to force it. Just watch the fight with peace of mind. Although there are some chats, just treat it as a show. Lin Moyu shook his head gently, as if he was laughing at himself for thinking too much, and watched the fight with peace of mind again. Half a day later, the second round of the fight ended. There was almost no suspense about the outcome. The outcome was basically related to the ranking. Only 3 people achieved a counterattack. Among them, the arrogant Zhong Ao actually succeeded in counterattacking and defeated the opponent who was 2 ranks higher than him. But Zhong Ao has reached the end. The next opponent is not something he can deal with. After defeating his opponent, Zhong Ao actually looked at Lin Moyu with provocation in his eyes. Lin Moyu frowned slightly and ignored him. He did not choose his opponent. Zhong Ao's magic and personality were not suitable for him to perform. After a short break, the third round of fighting began. There were a total of 22 people participating in this round. Up to now, the gap in combat power has begun to appear, and the progress of the battle has become faster and faster. Several battles were almost crushing. From the beginning to the end of the fight, it took less than a minute. 11 fights were solved in just half an hour. Then Yi Xian, who was a Bai, joined the fight. Yi Xian was still strong and continued to win by crushing. His magic was still magnificent and had an indescribable momentum, which was different from others. The fourth round took less than 20 minutes to get the result, and 6 people won in the end. These 6 people will fight with the top 10 people in the ranking. Because the conference does not consider the ranking behind, but only to decide who is the strongest genius, so the previous competition does not need to consider the opponent to be absolutely fair. If you want to pursue absolute fairness, these 100 people should play a round-robin battle and compete in the form of a points race. There is absolutely no need to do this. A truly powerful person will never choose the environment and rules. Xiao Yuan, who had been silent for a long time, spoke again. Before the final duel, there will be a special challenge. All the geniuses in the Daozuan realm, if anyone wants to challenge Lin Moyu, you can stand up. But who will be chosen in the end will be decided by Lin Moyu himself. At one time, many people stood up. There were exactly 90 Dao Zun level geniuses present, and more than half of them stood up. Obviously, these geniuses were not convinced by Lin Moyu, who interrupted halfway, and decided to teach Lin Moyu a lesson by fighting. Although they lost in both the understanding and Dao heart stages, they could definitely save face in the fighting stage. No matter how strong you will become in the future, at least for now, you still have to lie down obediently. Lin Moyu looked around, and the final target fell on one person, you. Everyone followed Lin Moyu's gaze, and Lin Moyu chose Xiang Qing, who was sitting on the left 26th and ranked 50 in the total ranking. Xiang Qing, from Qishan sect, Dao Zun level. Among the 100 geniuses, his strength was medium, and he practiced one of the 5 elements, the earth path. Xiang Qing's magic method tended to be defensive, with extremely strong defense, but insufficient attack. The two were teleported into the ring at the same time, standing 10,000 meters apart. The space in the ring was greatly expanded. Although the two were 10,000 meters apart, there was still a large space behind them for them to move around. Xiang Qing looked at Lin Moyu. You chose Xiang because his magic was more defensive, right? Xiang Qing was very self-aware and probably knew why Lin Moyu chose him. His magic was not enough to attack, so even if Lin Moyu lost, he would not lose too badly, and could even delay for a while. Lin Moyu clasped his fists. You are half right, senior. This is only one of the reasons. As for the other reason, I have my own considerations. Xiang Qing did not ask questions, but don't worry, I will show mercy and will not let you lose too badly. Lin Moyu smiled. Thank you for your understanding, senior. Xiang Qing was not modest. There is no need to be considerate or not. A top talent like you will have unlimited achievements in the future. Xiang doesn't want to offend you and be held accountable by you in the future. I didn't expect that this was the reason. Xiang Qing is honest. Xiang Qing said, okay, you can start. As a senior, I give you the right to start first. Lin Moyu said, I won't be polite. Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, and 100 skeleton generals appeared around him. The 100 skeleton generals were all mid-level Tianzuan, and they were even stronger than Lin Moyu. Xiang Qing was slightly stunned, or puppets. Lin Moyu shook his head. This is my technique, I am good at summoning. Xiang Qing said, I have heard of summoning, and seeing it today is an eye-opener. With these 100 skeletons, you should be invincible among mid-level Tianzuan. The implication is that it is still far from enough to use it against him. Lin Moyu said, the summoning skills of the juniors are not limited to this. Then, the first commander of the Dragon Riders appeared. At the same time, there were also hundreds of Dragon Riders. The 3.1 Dragon Riders were also mid-level Heavenly Venerables, which were stronger than the Skeleton God Generals and had already touched the edge of high-level Heavenly Venerables. And the first commander was a true high-level Heavenly Venerable, and among the high-level Heavenly Venerables, he was at the top. Xiang Qing narrowed his eyes. I take back what I said just now. Your strength is enough to compete with the high-level Tianzuan. No wonder you broke through the illusion so quickly. When he said this, the people outside the arena finally understood why Lin Moyu could break through the illusion so quickly. Originally, he was good at summoning and could summon a large army of skeletons. This way, he would be much stronger than them fighting alone. Lin Moyu said nothing and snapped his fingers again. A ball of fire lit up out of thin air, and the skeleton throne emerged from the immortal flames. A 1,000-meter-high skeleton king appeared behind Lin Moyu. The breath of the peak Tianzuan surged back and forth in the ring. Xiang Qing looked at the skeleton king at the peak of the Heavenly Venerable Realm. His eyes became serious. You are in the Heavenly Venerable Realm, and it is difficult to have an opponent. But if you want to use this to deal with Xiang, you are still a little short of the fire. Lin Moyu said bluntly, of course, I just want to try it. A faint khaki light rose from Xiang Qing's body. You do it. Lin Moyu said, Senior, be careful. With a thought in mind, the Dragon Riders Corps took the lead in launching a death charge. Hundreds of dragon riders formed a battle formation, turned into sharp spears, and killed Xiangqing. The skeleton god general followed closely behind and flew away. At this moment, the dragon riders and skeleton god generals were all handed over to the number 1 corps commander for command. Lin Moyu once again became a hands-off shopkeeper. The number 1 legion commander raised his sword and roared. In an instant, the law of bones surged, and the sea of bones descended. In the front of the dragon riders, the space was slightly distorted, and the skeleton hell existed in a hidden form. A yellow light shone brightly in front of Xiangqing, and a high khaki wall appeared out of thin air, just blocking the front of the dragon riders. This is his great way of earth, which belongs to one of the 5 elements of gold, wood, water, and fire. The great way of earth has another name, the great way of thick earth, and its main job is defense. Among the many great ways, its defense is extremely powerful. Boom 02. The khaki high wall shook, and the riders were blown away. However, their charge was not completely in vain. On the high wall, a not-so-big crack appeared. Most importantly, the skeleton hell in front of the legion was also impacted, completing the marking of the high wall. What a pity! Lin Moyu sighed in his heart. The skeleton hell only marked the high wall, but failed to mark Xiangqing. The number 1 legion commander didn't care about that. He roared again, and the skeleton gods raised their swords at the same time, in unison. Magic, white bone god slash. The sea of white bone law was boiling, and countless bones turned into countless sharp blades and rushed out. On the khaki high wall formed by Xiangqing, a white sword light suddenly lit up. The crack suddenly widened, and at the same time Xiangqing groaned, frowning tightly, feeling the pain from his soul. The white bone god slash landed on the high wall, and the soul attack of the white bone law fell along the high wall. Xiangqing felt a little uncomfortable. The high wall was formed by Xiangqing using his own avenue, and it originally contained a trace of Xiangqing's soul power. The white bone law attacked this trace of soul power. The cracks in the high wall widened further, and the skeleton king finally moved at this moment. It took 2 steps to cross the distance of 10,000 meters, came to the high wall, swung the huge bone sword, and slashed it on the wall. The high wall shook and trembled, and the cracks widened again, and it was about to collapse. Xiangqing formed this high wall just casually, without spending much effort. Under the repeated attacks of the undead legion, it quickly reached the edge of breaking. Xiangqing shouted softly and punched at Lin Moyu blasted out from a distance. The high wall exploded, and the power of the avenue evolved into a giant fist that smashed towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu spread his wings of the undead, and the wings of the undead vibrated, and an invisible force surged out, breaking the soul lock. He turned into a stream of light and flew far away, avoiding Xiangqing's punch. At the place where he was originally standing, a little inconspicuous fire flashed, and then was extinguished by Xiangqing's punch. This little fire was the skeleton hell. Under Lin Moyu's extremely precise control, the skeleton hell completed the mark. The number 1 legion commander took the opportunity to swing his sword, fatal blow. For this blow, he did not gather the power of the dragon riders on the surface, but even the power of the dragon riders that were not summoned was gathered together. The sword light swept towards Xiangqing, and the power of this blow was already at the peak of the heavenly venerable. Xiangqing's body glowed with yellow light, and he resisted the attack of the number 1 legion commander without dodging. With his strength, it was very easy for him to block the attack of the peak Tianzuan realm. The skeleton king also swung his sword at the same time. Spell, white bone god slash. Behind the skeleton king, the white bone law also appeared, which was more powerful than the white bone law of the undead legion. Xiangqing instinctively wanted to hide, but he couldn't hide at all, and the sword light suddenly flashed on his body. The white bone god slash ignored time and space and acted directly on Xiangqing. At the same time, the white bone law also fell on Xiangqing's soul with the attack. Xiangqing groaned again, and the feeling of his soul being attacked was really uncomfortable. Although Lin Moyu's summoning technique was not powerful, every attack contained a soul attack, which made him very unhappy. Xiangqing snorted, and the faint light covering his body suddenly became heavy. An extremely thick road appeared on his body, turning into armor to protect him. The thick earth road protected not only Xiangqing's body, but also his soul. Xiangqing didn't want his soul to be attacked again, so he used the Great Tao to protect himself. Xiangqing, who used the Great Tao of thick earth to protect himself, could hardly be harmed even by practitioners of the same realm. He grinned at Lin Moyu, and the whole person suddenly turned into a stream of light and rushed over. Lin Moyu shook the wings of the undead and retreated, and at the same time pointed his finger. Origin level magic, Time Curse. The Time Curse can only affect Xiangqing for a moment when used on him, and Lin Moyu only pursues this moment. The red light lit up, and Xiangqing, who had just started, suddenly lost consciousness and stopped in midair. The No. 1 Legion commander also swung his sword at the same time, and 100 dragon riders flew over, but did not attack Xiangqing, but surrounded Xiangqing. The dragon riders were huge, and the skeleton gods were stuffed into their gaps to fill them. In this moment, Xiangqing was surrounded by the undead, and it was unknown how many layers were surrounded. From the outside, the situation inside could not be seen clearly. After Xiangqing came to his senses, he saw a dark mass. He roared, and the power of the Great Tao suddenly erupted, and the innermost layer of the undead core was instantly crushed by the power of the Great Tao. In an instant, more than half of the undead core were killed. The remaining 750 undead core still surrounded it, and continued to attack, constantly falling on him, making a clanging sound like hammering iron. Lin Moyu focused on one, no matter whether it was useful or not, he would hit it first. At the same time, the dead undead core disappeared, reappeared beside the core leader, rushed over again, and joined the encirclement. In the eyes of outsiders, Lin Moyu summoned another batch of skeletons. Xiangqing crushed batch after batch of undead, but Lin Moyu's summoning speed was also very fast. Batch after batch followed to fill the gap, as if endless. Sure enough, his skeletons can be summoned again after they die in battle, endlessly. I don't believe it's really endless, there must be an end. Even if there is an end, at least he can last for a long time, that's right. So, in the last illusion of the second ring, he won in this way. It is precisely because of this that he chose Xiangqing. Xiangqing's attack power is indeed a little insufficient, and he is the weakest in the same realm. Why not choose me? My flame avenue can burn these guys clean with a fire. The other Tianjios talked about it and kept analyzing Lin Moyu's tactics. At present, Lin Moyu used a delaying tactic. This tactic is very effective for Xiangqing, but it is not very useful for others. It can be seen that Lin Moyu's combat power has indeed reached the point of being invincible in the Tianzuan realm, but it is still a little worse than Daozuan. Xiangqing was surrounded for a full minute, and Lin Moyu's tactics also successfully delayed for a minute. For a mid-level Tianzuan to face Tianjiao Daozuan, being able to delay for a minute was already very impressive. Xiangqing's voice rang out from the encirclement, "You've had enough." It can be heard that there was already a hint of understanding in his voice. Lin Moyu's tactics were too rogue, purely delaying time. When he heard Xiangqing's voice, Lin Moyu quickly retreated, retreating very far, almost to the edge of the ring. Boom! The yellow light exploded, and the thick earth road rolled up like a tsunami, and all the undead legions surrounding him were crushed by the power of the road. At this time, a fist-sized lich appeared in Lin Moyu's hand. The star arrow lich flashed a faint light and passed through the area where the roads intersected at an astonishing speed. Xiangqing's heart was alarmed, and he instinctively wanted to retreat, while surging the power of the road to defend. But before he could withdraw the power of the road, the faint light had already fallen on him. With a slight sound, a line of blood spurted out from Xiangqing's shoulder, and the star arrow pierced into his shoulder. However, it failed to pierce through, and the star arrow lich did not use the great way of arrows. Lin Moyu concealed the power of the star arrow lich. Only the arrow pierced into the shoulder, causing some flesh wounds. After the star arrow lich hit, it quickly retreated and returned to Lin Moyu's palm at an astonishing speed. The wound on Xiang Qing's shoulder healed quickly, and in the blink of an eye it had recovered as before, but the blood on it told everyone that he was really injured just now. There was an uproar outside the field. Xiang Qing was injured. Oh my God, how did he do that? What is this thing? Did he summon it? It was so fast that I couldn't see it clearly. Although the attack was not too strong and could only cause some skin injuries, it was already very powerful. If the enemy was not a Taoist master, but a heavenly master, he would be seriously injured or even killed by this attack. Xiang Qing also looked at Lin Moyu in disbelief. He, a dignified heavenly master, was actually injured by a mid-level heavenly master. This was simply unbelievable. Xiang Qing asked, "Did you summon this too?" Lin Moyu admitted generously, yes. He snapped his fingers, and the undead army that had just died appeared again, not one more, not one less. The undead army formed a battle formation and blocked Lin Moyu. Looking at this posture, Lin Moyu was determined to drag it out to the end. Xiang Qing took a deep breath. In this case, then I won't be polite. Summoning the avenue to cover the whole body again, but this time, Xiang Qing's hand appeared. A huge whip evolved from the avenue. Xiang Qing said, "The whip of the avenue I evolved is very powerful. When you can't bear it, you can call for a stop, don't force it." Lin Moyu said, "Senior, please feel free, the junior understands." Xiang Qing swung the whip of the Great Tao. He didn't swing it very fast and it looked a bit slow. But at the moment he swung the whip, the whole ring was filled with the Great Tao. The whip seemed to be everywhere and attacked from all directions. Lin Moyu had seen this technique before when he was watching a fight. But watching from the outside is far less profound than experiencing it in person. The wings of the undead spread out, and Lin Moyu avoided the whip shadows one after another. The undead army also exploded, breaking into pieces and wandering in the gaps of the whips. These whip shadows were real and fake, virtual and real. Lin Moyu shook the wings of the undead and kept dodging. With his powerful spiritual perception, it was not difficult for Lin Moyu to dodge. The undead army was much worse than Lin Moyu. They were far less flexible than Lin Moyu and would be whipped from time to time. Once hit by the whip, they will be turned into powder on the spot, without any resistance. But it doesn't matter, the dead undead will appear again in the blink of an eye. It looks like Lin Moyu summoned them again. All the onlookers now feel that this is normal. They have already assumed that Lin Moyu can summon them continuously, at least for a long time. The undead army will attack while dodging. Xiang Qing stood there motionless, taking all the attacks. The attacks of the undead army could not do anything to Xiang Qing. He stood there like an indestructible fortress, attacking the enemy with all his strength. Xiang Qing's whipping speed gradually increased, the whip shadows became denser and denser, and the gaps left became smaller and smaller. Lin Moyu suddenly had an idea in his mind. If I give him a powerful magic weapon to make up for the lack of attack power, then it will be 10 insurmountable human-shaped fortresses. Unfortunately, it still has flaws. It is difficult for me to defeat it without exposing my strength, but it is not difficult to hold it back. The whip shadows are getting denser and denser, leaving less and less space for Lin Moyu. After a while, the whip shadows will fill the entire arena, and then Lin Moyu will be eliminated. Almost everyone thinks so. Magic, the way of arrows. Lin the star arrow lich in Moyu's palm turned into a sharp weapon and shot out again. This time, the speed was faster and more powerful than the previous time, but the movement was smaller. Most of the geniuses watching from the outside did not notice that the star arrow lich had already attacked. This time, the star arrow lich used the great way of arrows, and its power increased 100 times. With a slight sound, blood shot out from Xiang Qing's shoulder again. The whip shadow was completely shattered at this moment, and Xiang Qing's body flew backwards, with a hole the size of a baby's head on his shoulder. After using the Great Way of Arrows, the Star Arrow Lich's power increased 100 times, penetrating Xiang Qing's Great Way defense, pierce its shoulder. But Xiang Qing's Dao defense is not only external, but also inside and outside the body. The Arrow Lich failed to penetrate Xiang Qing's body and was blocked after only half of it. But the huge force still knocked Xiang Qing back and left a wound. Blood flowed out of the wound, and the flesh and blood were recovering rapidly. The recovery speed of Dao Zun was amazing. Such a wound can be recovered in less than 2 minutes. The injury is nothing, but Xiang Qing's offensive was interrupted. If Xiang Qing wants to do it again, he has to start from the beginning and come again, which will waste a lot of time. Xiang Qing looked at Lin Moyu with complicated eyes, grave accent. I didn't expect that your summoned creature has such a strong attack. Lin Moyu said, this is already the limit of the juniors. For the seniors, it can only be some superficial injuries. Xiang Qing glared at Lin Moyu, isn't it enough to have superficial injuries? Lin Moyu is only a mid-level Tianzuan. It is already extremely unbelievable that a mid-level Tianzuan can hurt a Daozuan. What's more, he hurt a Daozuan like himself who is good at defense. If it were another Daozuan, the arrow just now might not have made a hole, but would have penetrated directly. If this arrow had been shot at the center of the eyebrows, I'm afraid the Daozuan would have been in trouble. Lin Moyu smiled and said, Senior, shall we continue? Xiang Qing snorted, continue, what the hell, if we keep fighting like this, when will it end? His whip of the Great Dao needs time to accumulate momentum, while Lin Moyu's Star Arrow Lich can interrupt him at the last moment, but Lin Moyu just can't kill him. The two sides seem to be in a stalemate. Lin Moyu said, Junior dares to suggest that we call this a draw? Xiang Qing has a straightforward personality, what else can it be if it's not a draw? Fight until the end of time? Lin Moyu smiled, this is the result he wanted. The two ended up in a tie, which was totally unexpected. There had never been a tie in the Tianjiao conference. Until Xiahou Yuan announced that the two had tied, which meant that Lin Moyu had created another history. Dao Zun, who was standing by, finally reacted after a moment. His last attack just now was ridiculously fast. Yeah, I thought the previous attack was already very fast, but I didn't expect it to be even faster this time. If even Xiang Qing's thick Earth Avenue couldn't be blocked, then we can't be blocked even more? This attack will definitely leave a hole. Although it's not life-threatening, it will definitely be very embarrassing. Yeah, if it hits the head, half of the head might be blown off. The Daozuan discussed a lot, and their eyes changed when they looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu's strength, not to say that he could kill them, but it was definitely comparable to an ordinary Daozuan of the first realm. It was incredible that a mid-level Tianzuan could be comparable to a Daozuan of the first realm. In the eyes of many Tianjiao, this duel was more exciting than the dozens of duels before. Lin Moyu's performance also left a deep impression in their hearts. Those Tianjiao put themselves in the picture, thinking about how they would deal with it if they were in their place. 993. Many people found that they didn't have a good way to deal with the last blow to Lin Moyu. The only way was to kill Lin Moyu as quickly as possible. Not to mention them, the Daozuan outside the formation in the sky were also discussing. This little guy is still beyond expectations, and he is so amazing. What a rare genius, he will definitely have a place in the Tianjiao position in the future. Why use the future, with his current ability, if you don't consider the realm, he is already a Tianjiao. No, he is stronger than the average genius. What a pity, this kind of person is out of my league. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere of the whole environment changed, and there was a faint murderous intent growing. Xiahou Yuan's real body suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the Taoist masters. His voice was calm and majestic, this boy has a destiny with God. When these words came out, all the Daozuan changed their faces at the same time, and then the atmosphere returned to normal again. Xiahou Yuan has made his attitude clear. The phrase "he has a destiny with me" is not a joke. This is a warning to everyone that whoever dares to touch Lin Moyu is his enemy. Xiao Yuan's strength is unfathomable, and no one knows how strong he is. Only the ancestors and the top forces can know Xiao Yuan's details. And for a genius who may rise, is it worth offending such an unfathomable old guy? The end of the duel between Lin Moyu and Xiang Qing also means that the final competition of the top 16 is about to begin. The result of the competition will determine who can get the title of the strongest genius. Lin Moyu just returned to his seat, and before he sat down, Xiao Yuan's voice suddenly rang in his ears. Gue Zhu wants to see you. Before Lin Moyu could react, a beam of light fell from the sky and Lin Moyu disappeared. Lu Lian used the formation to take Lin Moyu away. At the same time, Xiao Yuan announced that the competition of the top 16 had begun. In the inexplicable space, time was chaotic and went much slower than the outside world. This was the space belonging to the third ancestor, and Lin Moyu came here for the second time. Last time, it was Lu Lian who brought him in. This time, it was even more brutal. He was teleported directly here. The light gathered in front of him, and the third ancestor appeared in his sight. The third ancestor smiled, and he still looked so free and easy, which was totally inconsistent with his age. Little guy, you won't be angry if I bring you here directly. Lin Moyu said, how dare I get angry when the third ancestor summons me? The third ancestor smiled, I will assume that you are not angry. Lin Moyu said, third ancestor, don't joke around. Just tell me what you want to do. The third ancestor still smiled, and his voice was neither hurried nor slow. I want to ask you, what do you think of the Tianjiao conference? Lin Moyu looked at the third ancestor, and the third ancestor also looked at him. The four looked at each other, as if they wanted to see something from each other's eyes. Lin Moyu heard a different underlying meaning from the third ancestor's question. Ag. The other side was silent for a few seconds before Lin Moyu spoke. What do you think I should do? The third patriarch smiled and said, this is a question I asked you. Why are you asking me back? Lin Moyu smiled and said, I don't know what answer you want to hear. The third patriarch chuckled, of course I want to hear any answer. The two were like two old foxes, probing each other. Lin Moyu said, then can I say anything? The third patriarch said, of course, you can say whatever you want. Lin Moyu asked again, what if I say something I shouldn't say? Will you blame me? The third patriarch finally got impatient. Little fox, don't talk nonsense to me, speak quickly. Lin Moyu laughed out loud. Third patriarch, your patience is not good enough. The third patriarch snorted, speak quickly. Lin Moyu said, okay, since the third patriarch wants to hear so much, I'll talk. In fact, the Tianjiao conference is to collect luck and gather the luck of hundreds of Tianjiao into one. Although it is only a part of the luck, it is amazing enough. I don't know if I can reach the level of great luck. I feel that it is not a big problem, and it can be maintained for a period of time. But what is the use of gathering so much luck? Just for cultivation? I don't think so. I think there should be other things to do after the Tianjiao conference, and that thing needs the support of luck. That thing should be very difficult. The Tianjiao conference has not changed its location for so many years, which means that this thing has not been accomplished. The thing to be done should be not far from the mall, or in other words, it is here in the mall, so in order to maintain the luck from fading, the location cannot be changed. At this point, Lin Moyu stopped. The third ancestor waited for a while, and seeing that Lin Moyu didn't speak, he urged, don't stop, I know you have other guesses, say it out. Lin Moyu was helpless. Next is really a blind guess. If I guess wrong, don't laugh at me. If I guess right, don't kill people to silence me. I guessed that there must be something behind the Tianjiao conference, and then I wondered what it would be. The Tianjiao conference can form the current scale, and all forces in the entire South continent are involved. There must be a pusher behind it. The only one who can be a pusher is nothing more than someone like you, and you alone are not enough. I estimate that all the 9 top forces in South continent are involved. Then I continue to push it down. The fact that so many top forces and top masters are all involved, and it has lasted for so many years, shows that this matter is really very big. This matter must not be related to the growth of Tianjiao. Although they are important, they are not yet at that level. Then it can be inferred that this matter must be related to you. If I'm not mistaken, this matter should be related to Daozun, and it's about how you can break through the Daozun realm. While talking, Lin Moyu has been observing the changes in the expression of the third ancestor, and found that the expression of the third ancestor is not normal. As long as there is something abnormal, he will never say anything more. The third ancestor was listening with great interest, but Lin Moyu suddenly stopped again. The third ancestor frowned and said, "Why did you stop again?" "Continue." Lin Moyu shrugged and spread his hands. "I'm done." The third ancestor said, "I'm done. Tell me what you think of the Daozun." Lin Moyu said, "You think too highly of me. I'm not even a Daozun." The third ancestor looked like a ghost who would believe you. "Tell me quickly, even if it's nonsense. You've tricked me a little bit." Lin Moyu looked at the third ancestor's appearance. If he didn't say something today, he probably wouldn't let him go. With some helplessness, "Then I'll make it up. You just treat it as a story. When I became the son of Taiyin, I seemed to have seen something. It seems that there is a world similar to the starry sky above the origin continent. And above the starry sky, there are bright avenues. There are creatures in the avenues, including human race, demon race, and Buddha race. I can feel that these creatures are very strong. They seem to have merged with the avenue and are much stronger than the first one." Lin Moyu continued to observe the changes in the expression of the third ancestor while speaking. When talking about the avenue in the starry sky, the third ancestor's expression showed a touch of yearning, and in the yearning, there was also a little nostalgia. Could it be that the third ancestor has been there? Or, the third ancestor has seen it before and wants to go there? Lin Moyu continued to say while guessing in his heart, "In addition to the creatures in the avenue, I saw that there are several powerful beings on some avenues. They give me the feeling that they are not like creatures in the avenue, but more like the masters of the avenue." The third ancestor suddenly murmured. His voice was so soft that Lin Moyu could not hear it clearly. Lin Moyu asked, "Third ancestor, what did you say?" The third ancestor shook his head slightly. "Nothing, go on." Lin Moyu said, "No, that experience was like a dream. I don't know if it's true or not, just treat it as nonsense." The third ancestor pondered, "You are not dreaming. It should be the Taiyin origin that led you to see some real things. But these things are too early for you. Even if you see them, they are not very useful." Lin Moyu nodded slightly. "I understand." Of course he knew that he was not dreaming, and what he saw with his own eyes was not false. At the same time, he also knew that those things were too far away from him and he could not reach them. In terms of realm alone, he was still a long way from Daozun. The origin continent has strict levels. If you don't reach a certain realm, no matter how strong your combat power is, some things cannot be changed. The third patriarch said, "Think about it carefully. How many people did you see standing on the avenue?" Lin Moyu thought about it carefully. "Not many, no more than 10 people." The third patriarch continued to ask, "Then can you tell which avenues they are?" Lin Moyu told the truth. "My realm is not enough, it is difficult to tell." At that time, he did see the avenue, but he really couldn't tell which avenue it was. The third patriarch sighed. "Okay, you said so much, I can't treat you unfairly. I will make you a promise. You can ask me to help you do something. As long as it is within my ability, I can agree." Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. "It just so happens that there is something tonight." The third patriarch said, "Don't be so anxious, think about it first, don't waste my promise easily." Lin Moyu said, "I am short-sighted. I can't think of things that are too far away, and I don't want to think about them. It's better to be practical with things that can be seen and touched in front of me." The third patriarch looked at Lin Moyu. He knew very well that a little fox like Lin Moyu could not be short-sighted. "Since you said so, then tell me what it is." Lin Moyu took out a Buddhist bead full of cracks. Please, third ancestor, help me remove the soul mark on it. The third ancestor took the Buddhist bead, felt it slightly, and couldn't help showing surprise. Is this the bead of the three-pupil-free Buddha? Lin Moyu nodded. Third ancestor has good eyesight. I got this bead by chance. There's the soul mark of the three-pupil-free Buddha on it. I have limited ability and cannot remove it. The third ancestor said, I am very curious. What do you want it for after removing the soul mark? Lin Moyu said, I have my own use. I wonder if the three groups can remove it. The third ancestor said, if he left a soul mark after becoming the Buddha of freedom, it would be a bit troublesome for me to erase it. Fortunately, the soul mark on this bead was left before he became the Buddha of freedom, so it is not difficult to remove it. Since you are unwilling to say what the use is, I will not ask. Now I will ask one more question. Are you sure you want to use up this promise like this? In fact, there are many people who can do this, such as the old guy Xiao Yuan. He can also do it. Lin Moyu said, Junior understands, but it is difficult to repay a favor. 0. Ask for flowers. 0. The third ancestor did not persuade him anymore. The Buddhist beads flew up from his palm, and an extremely powerful soul force shot out from the brow of the third ancestor. Lin Moyu felt that the entire space was distorted, and time was in chaos in front of this soul force. So strong. Lin Moyu's heart trembled. The soul power of the third ancestor was even stronger than that of Tianlai Taoist. Tianlai Taoist was a Taoist of the ninth realm, and had once challenged a realm above that of a Taoist. Although he failed, his soul power was already stronger than that of other Taoists of the same realm. But at the moment, the soul power of the third ancestor seemed to be no weaker than that of Tianlai Taoist. Could it be that the third ancestor had also challenged a realm above that of a Taoist? The soul power of the third ancestor wrapped around the Buddhist beads, and after a few seconds, a slight sound was heard on the Buddhist beads. Amitabha. The sound of the Buddha's name rang out, and a shadow of Buddha appeared on the Buddhist beads. The third ancestor snorted lightly, with disdain, a trace of soul mark, and you dare to bluff. The soul power shook, and the shadow of Buddha shattered on the spot, and a crack appeared on the Buddhist beads again, running through the entire Buddhist beads, and the Buddhist beads were almost broken. The third ancestor threw the Buddhist beads back to Lin Moyu. The soul mark has been erased. I don't know what you want this thing for. Lin Moyu felt the remaining breath on the Buddhist beads. Although the soul mark was gone, it still retained a strong Buddhist breath. The Buddhist beads are still a rare Buddhist magic weapon. Lin Moyu put away the Buddhist beads. Thank you, third ancestor. I wonder what the third ancestor called me here for this time. Lin Moyu naturally didn't believe that the third ancestor called him here just to chat with him and ask about his guesses. The third ancestor said, when I saw your expression in the conference before, I knew that you must have guessed the intention behind the conference. You guessed right. After the Tianjiao conference, there is indeed something to do. I called you here for this matter. Lin Moyu was curious about what it was. The third ancestor said to the void, Xiao Lian, open the passage. Lu Lian's voice followed, okay. In the mall, Lu Lian is the butler, omnipresent and available at any time. Lin Moyu felt that the space was being distorted, and the Sun Seek portal was outlined. At the other end of the portal, a huge and pure source of power rushed out. The third ancestor waved his hand and evolved an avatar. Let's go in. A short teleportation, it seemed to take only a moment. Judging from the time, the teleportation distance is very short. But whether it is really short, Lin Moyu cannot judge correctly. The time during teleportation is chaotic. In fact, the time in the three ancestors' place is chaotic. Using ordinary methods to judge will definitely not be correct. An extremely strong source of power rushed towards him, and Lin Moyu felt that even his soul was impacted, and he felt a sense of ecstasy. Origin spiritual vein, and it is a very high-level origin spiritual vein. Not only the 8th level, but the 9th level origin spiritual vein. Lufeng Chamber of Commerce actually has a 9th level origin spiritual vein. It has been a long time since the 9th level origin spiritual vein appeared in the origin continent. For millions of years, the 9 top forces in Nanzhou have been pursuing the 9th level origin spiritual vein, but none of them have succeeded. No one knows why this happened. 3-inch. Lin Moyu also learned through the large amount of information he bought that the top forces in the 9 heavens now have the 8th level origin spiritual vein. And Leishan, Tianlei Taoist, also has an 8th level origin spiritual vein. It seems that there is already a momentum to be promoted to the 9th level, but when it will be promoted is still unknown. Unexpectedly, today I suddenly discovered that Lufeng Chamber of Commerce actually has a 9th level spiritual vein. How can I not take advantage of it? The voice of the third ancestor sounded in my ears. How is it? Are you surprised? There are only 5 9th level origin spiritual veins left in the entire origin continent, and this is one of them. Feel it well and remember its breath. It may be useful in the future. Lin Moyu asked, are there only 5 left? Where are the other 4 origin spirit veins? The third ancestor said, 2 of the remaining 4 are in Dongzhou. One is controlled by the Demon Clan Royal Court, and the other is controlled by the Dongling Empire. The other 2 are not in Dongzhou. They are in the hands of the King of the Sea of Boundary and the Dragon Clan's Hand Minister. Lin Moyu asked curiously, didn't it say that spirit beasts don't need origin spirit veins? The third ancestor laughed. Need and have are 2 different things. It is indeed the case. Need is need, and have is have, conflict. Lin Moyu asked again, it is said that there are many origin spirit veins in the Sea of Boundary, and there are many 8th level origin spirit veins. Why is there only one 9th level origin spirit vein? The third ancestor said, what you actually want to ask is why there are so few 9th level origin spirit veins on the origin continent. Lin Moyu was silent and did not answer. The third ancestor continued, the matter of the 9th order origin spiritual veins is too long ago, so it's better not to mention it. You just need to know that there are only 5 9th order origin spiritual veins left. It's not impossible to have one more, but it's too difficult. Lin Moyu naturally understood that if it was simple, the top forces wouldn't have failed after so many years of hard work. Feeling the breath of the origin spiritual veins, he thought for a while, if I'm not wrong, if I want to advance to the 9th realm of Daozun, I need the support of the 9th order origin spiritual veins. The third ancestor has been looking for a direction since he came here, and now he finally found the right direction. Let's go, talk while walking. The third ancestor walked forward, and Lin Moyu followed immediately. The mist was swirling here, and you could barely see your 5 fingers. Even with Lin Moyu's eyesight, he could only see about 1 meter ahead. There seemed to be no road here, and every step was soft, as if stepping on cotton. After every step, a strong source of power would flow in from the soles of his feet. Lin Moyu couldn't help but wonder if he was walking in the source of spiritual veins. This feeling was very strange. The third ancestor's voice came through the mist. If you want to break through the Daozuan realm, there are actually several ways, and there is not only one way. It's just that using the 9th order origin spiritual vein is the simplest way. As for other ways, they are too difficult. The problem now is not the 9th order origin spiritual vein, but something else. As for what it is, we will know in a while. The third ancestor said no more and continued to move forward. He kept adjusting the direction, and sometimes he would stop and look for the direction again. The third ancestor said again, don't be surprised. We are walking in the origin spiritual vein. The 9th order origin spiritual vein has a complex and changeable trend, and there is no fixed route. Lin Moyu has guessed that the origin spiritual vein is not static. It is like the root system of a big tree, intertwined with each other. Although it leads to the same destination, the route to take is not the same. After walking for a while, they finally reached the destination. The 2 walked out of the foggy area, and the view in front of them was suddenly clear. Where is this? Lin Moyu felt a familiar breath, the breath of death. It was dead here, with a bit of gloom. The breath of death was spreading wantonly, trying to get into his body. The third ancestor said, "The breath of death here will corrode the power of origin and erode the body and soul. With your realm, you can't hold on for long." As he said that, he waved his hand, and a majestic power of origin enveloped Lin Moyu. At the same time, the third ancestor was shining all over, enveloped by the power of origin, resisting the ubiquitous death. In fact, Lin Moyu didn't feel any danger at all. On the contrary, he felt that the death was very kind. The death that the third ancestor said could corrode the body and soul, Lin Moyu felt that it was no threat to him. But he didn't show it, and still accepted the kindness of the third ancestor. "Thank you, third ancestor, I wonder where this is." The third ancestor pointed to the front. "Look there, see what you can see?" Lin Moyu looked in the direction pointed by the third ancestor, where the death was like fog, hazy, and it seemed that nothing could be seen. But the death barrier was nothing to Lin Moyu. With a glimmer in his eyes, he could see clearly what was behind the hazy death. It was a high mountain. Because of the death, there were no living creatures or plants in the mountain, and even the rocks had rotted. But even such a rotten stone mountain was flashing with divine light, which intertwined with the death, forming a strange, hazy, and gloomy picture. The divine light was extraordinary, and Lin Moyu felt the power of the great Tao from the divine light. Lin Moyu's eyes became deeper and deeper, and he wanted to see clearly what was behind the divine light. He was sure that there must be something behind the divine light. His pupils shrank slightly, and finally, he saw clearly what was behind. Cemeteries and tombstones stood among the rotten stone forests. Looking up along the tombstones, on the top of the mountain, he saw a huge tomb. In front of the tomb, on the tombstone, a long spear was inserted upside down, and the tip of the spear pointed straight to the sky, as if to poke the sky and the earth apart. Lin Moyu instinctively felt that this spear was not going to pierce the sky of the origin continent, but the unknown sky. The voice of the third ancestor sounded, "Did you see it?" Lin Moyu hummed, "I saw some. There are mountains, tombs, and guns." The third ancestor suddenly laughed. "You can really see it. I am not wrong. You can really see it." Lin Moyu asked, "What is there?" The third ancestor said, "That is inheritance." Inheritance? Whose inheritance? Lin Moyu said he didn't understand. The third ancestor said, "That is the burial place of a great sect countless years ago." Lin Moyu was shocked. It was the burial place of a great sect. What is a burial place? It means that the entire sect suffered an irresistible disaster and was destroyed. The bones of the sect were buried in that mountain. The entire sect was buried in that mountain. The third ancestor said, "You don't need to know too much detailed information." "I don't know too much. I can only tell you that the sect was separated in their era. The inheritance inside can break through the Dao Zone and reach a realm above the Dao Zone. It's a pity." Lin Moyu took over the words of the third ancestor. "It's a pity that so many geniuses have not succeeded in so many years." The third ancestor sighed. "Yes, none of them succeeded. To obtain that inheritance, you need extremely strong luck. We held a Tianjiao conference to gather the luck of the Tianjiao of the human race and try to obtain that inheritance." He sighed again. "It's a pity that we failed again and again." Lin Moyu said, "Although we failed, 02 must have gained something, otherwise we should have given up long ago. It should be that we saw some hope, but I don't understand. Since luck is useful, why not gather more? With the means of all the predecessors, this should not be a difficult task." The third ancestor laughed. "You think it's simple. It's not difficult to gather luck. The real difficulty is the person who bears the luck. Everyone has his own destiny. Not everyone can bear huge luck. Sometimes things will turn into the opposite. If the luck is too huge, it will become the same luck. Once it becomes bad luck, even if he is a Tianjiao, he will die in the disaster. Everything will turn to its opposite when it reaches its extreme." Lin Moyu naturally knew that some things should not be overdone. Once overdone, it will be bad. After plotting the inheritance here for so many years, old guys like the third ancestor have tried various methods. Lin Moyu asked, "Why did you call me here today to tell me all this?" The third ancestor chuckled, "Why else, don't you understand?" Lin Moyu was a little helpless. He was not a fool, so how could he not know? Whether or not to obtain the inheritance inside is closely related to the strength of luck. His realm is not enough, but his luck is good. The third ancestor obviously took a fancy to his own luck. To obtain the inheritance inside, luck is only one aspect, and you also need understanding and Taoism, which are indispensable. So this time, in addition to a few Tianjiao, I hope you can also try it. Lin Moyu instinctively asked, "Is it dangerous?" The third ancestor said, "Of course there is some danger, but it is not very big. According to past experience, the mortality rate does not exceed 20%. 20%, it seems not high, but it is not low. Because of other people's affairs, to gamble with a 20% mortality rate, no matter how you calculate it, the literary business is a bit of a loss." The third ancestor seemed to see through Lin Moyu's little thoughts, and sneered, "You kid is too cunning, nothing more than calculating gains and losses. As long as you go, regardless of success or failure, I will do you one thing." Lin Moyu asked, "What can it be?" The third ancestor said, "Of course not, everything should be moderate, not too much. If you gain something in it, then the gain is naturally yours, we only take what we need. If you get the inheritance of breaking through the Dao Zun in it, isn't it a good thing for you? I can also promise you that in the future, when you want to break through, you can use the 9th level spirit vein." Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Please stop making big promises for me. I am afraid that I will be able to smell the fragrance but not eat it." The third ancestor snorted, "Are you going or not?" Lin Moyu sighed, "If I say I won't go, will you kill me now?" The third ancestor sneered, "What do you think?" Lin Moyu could only sigh, "Then I have no choice but to go to save my life." The third ancestor snorted, "You're kidding." Lin Moyu knew that the third ancestor was joking. Even if he didn't go, he wouldn't really kill him. However, Lin Moyu was also somewhat interested in the inheritance side of that great sect. The third ancestor said, "I will give you the specific information when the time comes. You can take a look at it again. It may be helpful." Lin Moyu looked at the stone mountain again. The stone mountain was filled with death and shrouded by divine light, so it was extremely difficult to see clearly. Even with all his strength, Lin Moyu could only see some clues. He found that the stone mountain was actually connected to the 9th order origin spiritual vein. To be precise, it should be the power in the 9th order origin spiritual vein that maintains the entire stone mountain. It is precisely because of this that the divine light in the stone mountain has not weakened for countless years. Lin Moyu even suspected that the 9th order spiritual vein of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce might be the one left by this great sect. It is not impossible. Third ancestor, who bought the root of rebirth? Lin Moyu suddenly asked tentatively. At that time, the third ancestor said that the root of rebirth was sold for a top-notch 9th order origin spiritual vein. The third ancestor laughed. "You don't think that this 9th order origin spiritual vein of our Chamber of Commerce is the one that was left back then? That root of rebirth was indeed sold for a top-notch 9th order origin spirit vein. At that time, I was just a middleman and did not get much benefit. That top-notch 9th order origin spirit vein did not stay in the origin continent, otherwise there should be a 6th 9th order origin spirit vein in the origin continent. The 9th order origin spirit vein of our Chamber of Commerce is not the best either, but among the current 5 origin spirit veins, this one is already the best." The words of the third ancestor contain 2 meanings. One is that he is telling Lin Moyu that the identities of the buyer and seller of the root of rebirth cannot be revealed. The second is that the 9th order origin spirit vein of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce is already the best at present. If you want to practice to a higher level, then 987 must rely on the 9th order origin spirit vein. In this way, it is to negotiate conditions with Lin Moyu. The Ninth Order Origin Spirit Vein is a very big bargaining chip in the hands of the Third Ancestor. The Third Ancestor believes that as long as Lin Moyu wants to practice, he can't escape. Lin Moyu knew very well that it was not only difficult for him to escape, but also for the ancient beings in the 9 top forces of the human race in Nanzhou. Therefore, the status of Lufeng Chamber of Commerce is extremely stable. Unless they can find other 9th level origin spiritual veins, they can only choose to cooperate with Lufeng Chamber of Commerce. The Third Ancestor looked at Lin Moyu with a smile, as if he had already taken Lin Moyu. He did not use any conspiracy, but dug a pit that Lin Moyu could hardly refuse. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and said slowly, "The last question." The Third Ancestor knew that the matter was settled, and his mood suddenly became happy. He said very simply, "Go ahead." Lin Moyu said, "Who would I get the gun on the top of the mountain if I accidentally got it?" The Third Ancestor frowned. "Little fox, you are giving me a difficult problem." Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "Is it difficult? You should still have this little power. As the local snake here, if the Third Ancestor does not even have this little power, it means that he cannot be a leader here. In this way, his own safety cannot be guaranteed, and cooperation is naturally out of the question. Lin Moyu doesn't want to face those old guys in the top forces of all parties later. If those old guys have some bad intentions, he will have a headache.